Held on September 18th at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, New York, the inaugural Mr. Olympia contest has since become legendary. Despite gaining an invitation, Steve Reeves and Reg Park did not attend nor compete in the contest. As such, the Olympia stage was graced by only 3 men: Americans Larry Scott and Harold Poole, and Barbados-born Earl Maynard. As Poole and Maynard entered the spotlight, they were each met with overwhelming applause. However, before Larry Scott had even appeared, the crowd began chanting. Onlookers of the contest have since reminisced about Scott's platinum blonde hair and movie star good looks. Most notable, however, were his mind-blowing arms and shoulders. The crowd went absolutely ballistic when Scott struck each pose, especially his front double biceps. Late bodybuilding historian Peter McGuff explained that this could only be compared to a Beatles concert.
And people still say, Larry's effect on the audience, they've never witnessed anything like it. And he posed and the audience went nuts. They were standing on the chairs, jumping up and down. And people that were there, I wasn't there, say it was like Beatlemania.
Larry Scott would of course win the contest, becoming the first ever Mr. Olympia champion. With the promise of a $1,000 gift for the victor, Scott was awarded an oversized red crown. Based on the smile on his face, I can't imagine Larry minded much. After the show, the fans in attendance flooded into the streets, surrounding the academy in a massive crowd. As each contestant emerged from the theatre, they were met with equal applause and congratulations. Some were even hoisted onto the shoulders of fans, who proudly paraded them through the streets. In 1966, onlookers were blessed to witness Chet Yorton win Mr. America, Dave Draper win Mr. Universe, and Sergiooliva win Mr. World, as well as attend the Mr. Olympia, all with the same ticket. Like last year, 1966 was Beatlemania incarnate. After the other 3 athletes had taken and left the stage, Larry Scott himself was keenly anticipated by the crowd. The Master of Ceremonies, Bud Parker, announced, "Now defending his Mr. Olympia title from California, Larry." But before he was able to squeeze out the Scott, he was drowned out. Much like in 1965. Wanting to please the crowd, Scott hit pose after pose. Yet eventually he finished and walked off. Yet left the audience still wanting more. For those in attendance, it was clear that he would win his second Mr. Olympia championship. After each athlete had conducted their individual posing, an intermission was called to allow the judges to make their decision. Regardless, this decision did not come easy, as they had to work at it for 20 minutes. Eventually, however, the announcement was made. Mr. Olympia for 1966 was once again Larry Scott. Larry had once again bested Harold Poole, as well as Chuck Sipes and the Olympia debutante, Sergiooliva. Joe Weider presented Larry with his commemorative silver plate, lined with $1,000 in cash. After receiving his prizes for emerging victorious, Scott was also handed the microphone. Larry thanked his fans for their support and adulation, and officially announced his retirement from bodybuilding.
After I was given the trophy for the second Olympia, I said, "I want you to appreciate their loyalty and their adulation and everything." And that's what I told him. I told him from my heart. It was a great honor. I've done something for a little Pocatello kid to get this kind of an honor, and I really appreciated him. But tonight is my last contest.
Scott stated that he was planning on retiring regardless, but the Mr. World of that year was rising fast, and that he timed it perfectly. Scott's retirement also allowed budding Olympia champions to walk through an open door. The only question was who. After winning the 1967 Mr. America and Mr. World competitions respectively earlier that night, Don Howarth and Rick Wayne had both just earned their place on the Olympia stage. However, both men declined. With the retirement of Larry Scott the year prior, the remaining 3 men from last year's roster returned: Oliva, Poole, and Sipes. And they were joined by one newcomer, Dave Draper. Draper was the first to grace the stage, yet was not up to scratch due to his commitments in Hollywood. Next on stage was a much improved Sipes, who surprised the attendees in mass. But this was quickly forgotten when Oliva paced out thereafter. With a mind-blowing physique and beautiful posing in equal measure, those in attendance were left speechless at the mere sight of Sergio. Judge Dick Tyler wrote that the words to describe Oliva haven't been invented yet. Yet, Bill Dobbins tries his best to do so. Last on stage was Poole, who, after the cheers for Oliva had died down, was still met warmly. However, when he hit his trademark most muscular pose, they went absolutely ballistic. When all was said and done, Sergio would win his first Olympia championship and became the second to ever do it. Prior to researching for this video, I was blissfully unaware that this may have potentially been one of the closest decisions in Olympia history. Here is an excerpt from Dick Tyler in Muscle Builder, which will provide you with an accurate and unique inside perspective. Thus ended the Olympia contest for the audience, but the job of the judges was just beginning. We went through the orchestra pit to the level under the stage for our balloting. I voted for Oliva, but to my surprise, Poole pulled most of the votes. We argued and balloted and argued and balloted while the audience waited. John Twitchell came down to see what we had decided. He was told that Poole was the winner. He nodded and started upstairs when someone suggested that we have just one more look at them all together. Twitchell was literally a step away from Parker with the decision when he was caught. Except for a step and a voice, Poole would have been Mr. Olympia. The curtains were closed and the contestants mounted the platform backstage, while the judges once again went about the task of trying to decide who was Mr. Olympia for 1967. We went into a side room and re-balloted with the promise that this was the final vote. This time Oliva emerged the winner in one of the closest contests I've ever seen. In 1968, like in previous years, ticket holders were also treated to two other shows prior to the Olympia. The IFBB Mr. America overall was won by Frankzane, who also won the Best Legs trophy, while the Mr. World overall was secured by a returning Olympian, Qyxz. However, as the main event rolled around, it was revealed to the crowd that the contest would not actually, be contended, as there would only be one man to grace the stage that night. The previous year, Poole's promotion to general manager of a New York business negatively impacted his training schedule. Dave Draper's training was heavily impacted by a demanding Hollywood schedule and guest appearances to promote his films. Qyxz had recently won the Mr. World contest and also performed strongman stunts that same evening. As a result, he was wiped. This came at the advice of Joe Weider, who recommended that he wait to the following year. Lastly, despite advising the Weiders that he would compete, Arnold Schwarzenegger had decided to enter the Pro Mr. Universe in London, England, which was held on the very same day. As such, Sergio Oliva would once again claim the Mr. Olympia Championship, this time by default. As such, this is perhaps his least impressive victory. This occurrence would only be repeated once in 1971. Despite the lack of competition and his defaulted victory, there is no denying that Sergio was much improved and that no one, simply no one, could have competed against him anyway. Sergio had earned the bodybuilding moniker of the Myth for very good reason. On September 13th, 1969, in the 5th Mr. Olympia contest, the last of the decade, history was made again. Not only would Frankzane defeat Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Mr. Universe contest, Arnold would once again be defeated on the stage that night. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Earlier, Arnold had breezed through the universe and was looking to secure the Olympia crown. On the Olympia stage, Arnold's posing was strong, which turned the crowd somewhat in his favour. They cheered especially loudly when he hit his most muscular, after which he confidently walked off stage. After the cheers for Arnold slowly died down, the cheers of anticipation for Sergio slowly grew more deafening. Oliva continued to make the crowd wait, but when the moment finally came and Sergio graced the stage, he blew the roof off. Despite this reaction, the judges couldn't decide and called both men back out. They went pose for minutes, which may well be the first documented example of this occurring at the contest. Despite a strong showing from Arnold, He did not quite have what it took to topple the king. Yet, anyway, when all was said and done, Sergio Oliva had once again claimed the Mr. Olympia title. When Oliva's name was called as the victor, Arnold congratulated and embraced him immediately, showing great sportsmanship. For now, the bitter taste of defeat was fresh in his mouth, but this taste didn't last long. The 1970 Mr. Olympia competition, held on the 20th of September, was moved to the town hall in New York City due to the growing popularity of the event and the subsequent need for a larger venue. At this year's competition, there were 3 contestants: Reg Lewis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Sergio Oliva. Reg Lewis, though not a strong contender when compared to his peers, still made an impression with his well-proportioned physique. The audience's excitement reached an audible peak when Arnold Schwarzenegger took the stage. He was bigger than last year, but with improved detail, definition, and separation. This performance certainly solidified his billing for top place. Finally, the reigning champion Sergio Oliva took the stage with even more size and confidence, asserting his dominance as a 3-time Mr. Olympia. After the individual posing round had concluded, the stage was graced by all 3 men for the pose down. But the audience's eyes were drawn to only 2, resulting in Lewis moving to the side of the stage. Arnold then boldly challenged Oliva, signaling him to strike poses that Arnold would try to surpass. Although Arnold dominated many poses due to his flawless posing, Oliva outmuscled and outclassed him, especially in the back double biceps. But again, it was Arnold's posing that set him apart. After a series of impressive poses from both men, Arnold quietly muttered to Sergio that he had had enough. A tired Oliva agreed and began to move off stage, much to the displeasure of the crowd. After the crowd audibly voiced their concern, Arnold waved Sergio back to the stage, marking the first of many mind games he played on his competition. Ultimately, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger who was crowned as the winner, and thus began the infamous reign of the Austrian Oak. The 1971 Mr. Olympia was held in Paris on the 25th of September at the Palace of Mutualism Theatre. Interestingly, this year's competition was a landmark event in bodybuilding history, as it was the first Olympia held outside of New York City and the only one ever held in France. Co-promoted by Serge Nubret and Joe Weider, the contest was hindered by controversy due to the disqualification of 3-time champion Sergio Oliva and would-be Olympia debutant Roy Calendar, who had entered the 1971 NABBA Mr. Universe. Additionally, francocolumbu was also suspended, having competed in the AAU Mr. World. As a result, both Sergio and Franco agreed to instead appear as guest posers. As such, 24-year-old defending champion Arnold Schwarzenegger was unopposed in the competition. The event, while lacking a true contest, turned into a posing exhibition for Arnold, who was accompanied by a 21-piece orchestra playing classical music as he went through his posing routine. Classy. Despite the fact that Arnold's routine was certainly impressive, and the crowd of 1,800 spectators certainly enjoyed his solo performance, the absence of direct competition left the question of who was truly superior, Arnold or Oliva, unanswered. Regardless, Arnold was victorious and had claimed the $1,000 prize money and the 1971 Mr. Olympia title. Overall, the 1971 Olympia, while lacking, competition, highlighted Arnold's potential, leaving fans eagerly anticipating the next meeting of Arnold and Sergio at the 1972 Mr. Olympia. Continuing the trend of moving the event outside of New York, the 1972 Mr. Olympia competition took place at the Handelshof trading yard in Essen, Germany. 5 contestants competed this year: Sergio Oliva, Serge Nubret, frankzane, francocolumbu, and defending champion Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sergio Oliva made his return to the Mr. Olympia stage after being disqualified the previous year. He was determined to reclaim the title, believing that Schwarzenegger had become somewhat complacent. Maybe in anticipation, Oliva showed up in Germany with a more defined physique, and his impressive proportions made him stand out immediately. However, Schwarzenegger was also in top form. As a rising star under Joe Weider's leadership and guidance, Arnold had committed himself to the competition wholeheartedly. And now, as we know in hindsight, when Arnold locks in, your chook is cooked. Anyways, Arnold's bestie francocolumbu was making his second appearance on the Olympia stage, while Serge Bray and frankzane were debuting. All three of these men presented solid physiques, but they couldn't quite hang with the level of definition and size demonstrated by Schwarzenegger and Oliva. Unsurprisingly, both Arnold and Sergio gave outstanding performances, making it difficult to choose between them. Ultimately, however, Schwarzenegger retained his title, a victory which sparked debate. Regardless, Schwarzenegger's third consecutive Olympia win solidified his growing dominance in the sport. The only question was, could he make it 4? The 1973 Mr. Olympia took place in New York City, returning after 2 years abroad. The event was held at the Brooklyn Academy of Music and attracted great excitement from the American audience. The participants included reigning champion Arnold Schwarzenegger, francocolumbu, and Serge Bray, all of whom had their eyes set on the Mr. Olympia title. A notable absence was Sergio Oliva, who had been a dominant force in Olympia's past. His decision to skip the contest disappointed many fans, with speculation that his previous losses may have impacted his confidence. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had most definitely been shaken by Sergio's presence in past competitions, I'm sure felt both nervous and relieved upon learning that Oliva wouldn't be competing. Oliva instead chose to focus on winning the Mr. International title instead, for who knows why. Maybe simply because he hadn't won it yet and wanted to, but anyway, your guess is as good as mine. Regardless, Arnold secured his 4th consecutive Mr. Olympia victory in dominant fashion. Notably, the prize money decreased from $1,000 to $750 this year, which sparked controversy among the competitors and fans alike.
And he gave Arnold, for some reason, $750 instead of $1,000. And he's walking around the stage, shaking his head, and he grabs the microphone. He goes, "This is bullshit." He goes, "This is what I get for training for a whole year. So this is $250 less than last year," you know? And he dropped the mic and walked off the stage.
The 1974 Mr. Olympia was certainly a defining moment in bodybuilding history, partly due to the growing media attention the sport was receiving. During this period, bodybuilding was still seen as an odd and misunderstood pursuit by the general public. Intrigued by this subculture, Sports Illustrated dedicated a 10-page article in its October 14, 1974 issue to explore bodybuilding, with reporter Richard W. Johnson offering a refreshingly respectful take on its rise to prominence. This coincided with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Olympia title defense at New York's Madison Square Garden. Schwarzenegger, who was at the peak of his career at this time, was hailed by Johnson as the most extraordinary athlete anywhere today and the most perfectly developed male in history. Johnson had also attended the 1974 Mr. International competition in Los Angeles, where he witnessed Arnold's captivating on-stage performance. These occurrences certainly helped set the stage for the publication of Pumping Iron by Charles Gaines and photographer George Butler, which would help bring bodybuilding into the public eye on a grander scale. Alright, that's enough knick-knack, let's get into the paddywhack. The 1974 Mr. Olympia, which was held at the Felt Forum, saw Arnold Schwarzenegger claim victory over a 22-year-old Lou Ferrigno, a promising newcomer and 2-time Mr. Universe winner. Despite Ferrigno's impressive size, he was 6'5" and 260 pounds by the way, his pre-contest preparation had extended for too long, and he could not match Arnold's physique due to his flat, smooth, and undersized physique. Despite weighing over 20 pounds less, Schwarzenegger, at 237 pounds of finely tuned muscle, easily defeated Ferrigno. The contest also had 2 weight classes, the under 200 pound category, won by francocolumbu, who narrowly defeated frankzane, and the over 200 pound category, which Arnold of course dominated, as did he the overall. The 1975 Mr. Olympia took place from November 4th to 11th in Pretoria, South Africa. This year's big dance denotes a significant moment in bodybuilding history, as it was filmed for the 1977 docudrama Pumping Iron. Pumping Iron highlighted the intense yet highly dramatized rivalry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno as they trained for the contest, as well as capturing the contest itself. At the time, Schwarzenegger was on a 5-year winning streak, while Ferrigno was hungry to claim his first. The 1975 contest, like the previous year, featured both the over 200 pounds and under 200 pounds categories. In the over 200 class, Arnold claimed the top spot. His main competitor, Lou Ferrigno, placed third in the heavyweight category, behind an impressive Serge Nabret. In the under 200s, francocolumbu would once again claim the top spot on the podium, pipping master poser Ed Corney and fan favourite Albert Beckles. The final pose down consisted of the two class winners, Schwarzenegger and Columbu, who battled it out for the overall Mr. Olympia title. After going pose for some time, in a close and dramatic decision, Arnold narrowly defeated the smaller Franco with a 4-3 vote in his favour.
The winner of the 1975 overall Mr. Olympia, the one and only, the greatest, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Claiming his 6th Mr. Olympia title, as well as the increased purse of $2,500. After the event had concluded, Schwarzenegger announced that this would be his final Mr. Olympia competition, which of course added to the drama, as Ferrigno was determined to topple the dog at the top of the mountain.
No more, because it was my last year of competition, and I would like to announce officially that I'm retiring from bodybuilding competition. I would like to thank you all for supporting me. I would like to thank the judges. Bodybuilding has been a beautiful experience for me, and I will continue it for the rest of my life. I only stopped competing, but I'm not stopping bodybuilding. It's the greatest sport. Thank you.
The Pumping Iron documentary, which released 2 years later, contributed highly to both Schwarzenegger and Ferrigno's rise to fame, as both men enjoyed a great deal of success in Hollywood. Nevertheless, with the impending absence of the dominant champion, the title was left vacated, and the question on everyone's mind was, who would be the 4th Mr. Olympia? The 1976 Mr. Olympia was held in Columbus, Ohio, at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium. Just like the 2 years prior, competitors were divided into 2 weight classes, over and under 200 pounds. Notably absent from the heavyweight category were Schwarzenegger and Ferrigno. Ken Waller and Mike Katz took their position on stage, presenting impressive physiques in their own right. In the lightweight division, the card was stacked, consisting of francocolumbu, frankzane, Ed Corney, Bill Grant, and Boyako. In the over 200 pound category, Ken Waller, showing impressive muscle density and maturity with nice lines, claimed the top spot, while Mike Katz took second. While francocolumbu claimed the lightweight title, defeating Frankzane and Ed Corney, who took out second and third respectively. On the main stage, Franco went on to defeat Waller, marking Columbu's first overall Mr. Olympia win. This, after previously securing the lightweight title in 1974 and 75, ultimately losing the overall title to Arnold, as mentioned earlier. Perhaps of interest to you, Franco also became the first ever under 200 pound overall champion. In addition, he also took his place at the top of the podium and claimed the increased prize money of $5,000 for his efforts. The only question was, could he replicate this feat the following year? This year's contest was once again held in Columbus and saw a significant rise in popularity, drawing more spectators than in previous years. Additionally, the 2 weight classes, over and under 200 pounds, were still in effect. Sorry if I'm repeating myself too much with that intro, we'll move on. The overs featured Robbie Robinson, Ken Waller, Dennis Tenorino, and Roger Walker, while the unders lineup consisted of Frank Zane, Ed Corney, Boyako, Albert Beckles, and Bill Grant. With such a stacked lineup, featuring 9 participants in total, the posing rounds were lengthy and challenging for the athletes. On the other side of the coin, however, this of course made it more entertaining for those in the crowd. In the over 200 pound contest, Robbie Robinson ultimately defeated Waller and Tenorino, who placed second and third respectively. While in the unders, Zane defeated Corney and Co, who placed second and third respectively. As the decision was made on the class victors, The crowd eagerly anticipated the pose down between Zane and Robinson. At the conclusion of the posing round, and after some deliberation by the judges, they eventually reached a decision. Although both men had their hands raised by Joe Weider, it was Zane who claimed the victory.
Doesn't mean everything in bodybuilding, that the symmetry is very important, how you do your presentation of the posing routine, that your body is put together perfectly.
Being presented with the prize money and the coveted title. This marks both Zane's first Olympia win and what many considered to be a shift in the bodybuilding tides. With this decision, the judges purposefully highlighted that they would now be rewarding symmetry, proportion, beauty, and definition, rather than just simply mass. Reports concerning the prize money awarded for this competition differ, with some writing $13,000 and others $5,000. Well, the latter is the correct figure, as confirmed by the winner himself in the Evolution of Bodybuilding documentary, in which he also states that this was also the first year in which the Weiders presented the winner, Zane, with the coveted Sandow trophy.
In 1977, winning the Olympia meant a cash prize of $5,000, and the trophy, which I got to learn later, was the first year they gave out the Sandow trophy. And so I'm the recipient of that, but I didn't know it at the time.
The only question left was, could he back it up next year?
And here, the new Mr. Olympia.
Frank, congratulations to you.
Fantastic.
Great going. We've watched a lot of these, and this is the moment you've been waiting for.
Oh yeah, after all these years, it's really great to win what I've been after for so long.
How many years have you been training for this?
Well, I've been training 21 years. For this show, I've been training since, 1972 was the first year I entered it.
And you had a lot of fellows that were a lot bigger. Tough competition out there.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think?
I think I'm very happy about the results because I told you it's not the size that counts, it's the proportion and the symmetry. I had this opinion. He was the best poser today, had the best presentation, and he promoted himself all the way as being the winner this year. And he is the winner. He was confident. He came here to win.
He's also a fine gentleman. I've had the privilege of knowing him for about 7 years. Arnold, congratulations for you. It was a great competition. And from Columbus, Ohio, that's it for the Mr. Olympia contest.
The 1978 was once again held at the Veterans Auditorium in Columbus, gaining further popularity. This was directly related to the increased competition the year prior, in addition to another stacked lineup at this year's contest. A total of 13 bodybuilders competed, who were once again split into over and under 200 pound weight classes. In attendance were Robbie Robinson, Frankzane, Roy Callender, Boyako, Danny Padilla, Ed Corney, Mohamed Makawe, and Cal Shikalik, to name but a few. The anticipation of the crowd was directed towards both Robinson and Zane. This was reaffirmed when both men were announced as the first place finishers in their respective classes. Behind Robinson in the overs class were Roy Callender in second and Cal Shikalik in third, with Dennis Tenorino and Roger Walker rounding out the card in fourth and fifth respectively. In the unders class, Boyako finished second behind Zane, and an impressive Danny Padilla finished third. Ed Corney and Tony Emmett rounded out the top 5. Again, when it came to the overall decision, Zane and Robinson seemed out of reach for the others. While Robinson had a larger and more imposing physique, Zane's flawless form was comparable to that of a Greek statue. In the end, it was Zane that earned the victory, confirming his second Mr. Olympia title and claiming the $15,000 cash prize. Behind him finished Robinson, Callender, Coe, and Shikalik in that order. The main point of contention from this year's competition was actually the ladder placing. When Shikalik was announced in 5th, the crowd erupted with a rain of boos. Shikalik was equally angered by this, deciding to demonstrate his frustrations on stage. Cal stepped to the center of the stage, extended his arms out wide, crossed his ankles, and tilted his head to the side. What resulted was this infamous picture, resemblant of the crucifixion. Regardless, the shine was not taken from Zane's victory. He also became hungrier, having future ambitions to secure more titles, as well as his legacy, and he would have his chance. Held for the last time in Columbus, the 1979 contest marked the final year competitors were divided into under and over 200 pound weight classes. The number of participants also grew to 15 elite level bodybuilders. The card included Mike Mensah, Dennis Tenorino, Frankzane, Boyer Coe, Robbie Robinson, chrisdickerson, and Tom Platz, to name but a few. Regardless, the name on everyone's minds was that of Frankzane, the reigning two-time champion, who was going into the 1979 Mr. Olympia looking to three-peat. With back-to-back wins, Zane had to be feeling confident. After gaining momentum by winning the IFBB Florida Pro Invitational earlier that year and featuring on the cover of Joe Weider's Muscle magazine, contender Mike Mensah was quietly confident. He easily defeated the rest of his class, however, with Tenorino and Walker placing second and third respectively. Now, it was the moment the crowd had been waiting for. Mensah, the heavy-duty Goliath, versus Zane, the methodical chemist. While Zane and Mensah looked comparable early, despite the size difference, Mensah started to fade. While he started the prejudging extremely sharp, he started to retain water, giving his muscles a blurry look. Conversely, Zane seemed to be getting tighter, and the gap between them grew wider. After all was said and done, and the comparisons were called to a close, it was Frank Zane's name that was called as the victor. In a demonstration of good sportsmanship, Tenorino raised Zane's hand high into the air, while Mensah looked on disapprovingly. Regardless, Zane had earned his third consecutive Mr. Olympia title, the Sandow Trophy, and the $25,000 cash prize. Reflecting on the event, Zane stated, "At the banquet and a nice meal afterwards, wine flowed freely." As Christina and I sat at our table, Mike Mensah, who had come in second, was nice enough to come over and say, "It's not your fault that you won." I accepted it as a compliment and thought about retiring. Could it get any better than this? The 1980 Mr. Olympia took place on the 4th of October at the Sydney Opera House, Australia. This contest is widely regarded as one of, if not the, most controversial in the event's history. Remember Arnold's retirement speech at the 1975 Olympia? Well, as it turns out,
I lied.
A long-haired Arnold returned after a 5-year hiatus to challenge reigning champion Frank Zane, who is aiming for his 4th consecutive title. Rumours of Arnold's comeback began during the summer of 1980, as he was seen training at World Gym. Bodybuilding fans and fellow competitors alike were skeptical, given his focus on a budding acting career. Prior to the event, he travelled to Australia to commentate for CBS, who were organised to record the contest itself. With only 8 weeks training under his belt, Arnold made a last-minute entry just one day before the event.
Even Zane said to him, who he was very friendly with, you're making a comeback, aren't you? You're putting so much into it. No. He told everybody, no, I'm going to Australia to do commentary for CBS. I'm not going to do it. So he went to Australia, and everybody thinks he's there to do commentary. And then the night before the contest, he enters. And of course, that sent shudders through the bodybuilding world at the time.
This was announced at the Olympia press conference, at which Arnold disparaged competitors and tried to make the entire event about himself. This then continued in the competitors' meeting, before which it was predetermined that the weight classes would be abolished. Late entry Arnold was the only athlete from the list of 16 that wanted to keep the over and under classes. After Arnold had made his point known, Boyer Coe cordially stood up and asked Arnold point blank why he wanted the classes reinstated. Arnold quickly dismissed Boyer after already making disparaging comments to and about Samirbannout.
There was a lot of arguing going on between Arnold and a few of the guys. It's a very large room. There must have been maybe 50 or 60 people in there, and Arnold, as usual, wanted to be the center of attention.
Mike Mensah, who had been quietly bubbling for some time, quickly stuck up for Boyer.
So I said, look, Boyer Coe said that as a gentleman, something to that effect. He doesn't deserve that. You just accused Boyer of acting like a baby, when in fact you're the one who's acting worse than that, and set him off.
Mike, he didn't particularly like Arnold's rhetoric a lot. He let it be known.
So he loses it. He gets up and he goes over to Arnold.
And I thought Mike was going to walk over and pound him, but really, I said, we came so close to physical violence.
Mike moved in like a raging bull.
I scared him. Arnold Schwarzenegger sat down. I tattooed at him. I wagged my finger at him, telling him that his behavior was reprehensible, that it was not Boyer, so he needed to grow up.
And he puts a finger in his face, and they start arguing, and everybody that was there said they thought there was going to be a fight.
And as a real ripple of concern swept through the room.
Two of the greatest bodybuilders of all time are getting ready to fight each other, and people are holding them back, you know? Oh, God.
It probably would have come to blows, because Mike was pretty thin. The way Arnold was sitting, and if Mike would have hit him, he would have taken Arnold's head. Had Bill Pearl not stepped between Mike and Arnold, all hell would have broke loose.
It became very clear, especially later on as the day proceeded, that things weren't the way they should be.
Meanwhile, reigning champion frankzane was overcoming his own challenges. Frank had recently suffered from a devastating injury, yet had mostly recovered.
But what happened is I had an accident where I fell into my swimming pool and basically severed my urethra, smashed my urethra, and had internal bleed. You know, it was awful. I almost died. Went into shock. But I ended up going in the contest anyway. It was an error in judgment. I was encouraged by Arnold to go in. That was his ploy, was to get me. But basically, I think he was getting even for the year before, 79, when I won the Olympia. Then I embarrassed him, apparently.
With Arnold's short preparation and Zane's recent injury, the scene was set for an upset. With such a stacked lineup, this was certainly possible. There were 16 elite bodybuilders in attendance, including Boyer Coe, Mike Mensa, Roger Walker, Roy Callender, Dennis Tenorino, Tom Platz, and Danny Padilla. Those of you in the know will have already recognized that these were their placings, in order from 4th to 10th. Those in attendance were convinced that Dickerson had bested Arnold. Despite the fact that he was smaller, he was leaner, more aesthetically proportioned, and delivered a more polished overall appearance as a result. Arnold, on the other hand, relied on strategic posing to conceal his weaknesses and leaned heavily on his obvious stage presence and star power. The real surprise came when Arnold was awarded first place. Arnold was given 295 points to Dickerson's 292, with the audience enraged by the decision. Chris had therefore taken second, with Frank coming in third. Many fans and critics regard Chris Dickerson as the true champion, and many allege that he was overlooked on racial grounds and/or because of his sexual orientation. 5th place finisher Mike Mensa also complained mercilessly about the results of the contest for years afterward.
Where was the corruption that you saw? I mean, is that in, like I said, the judging? Is that in the promotional side of it? Or is that in the, just the core of the IFBB
Well, it has to do with the type of mentality that Ben Weider has brought into the IFBB. I remember many years ago I heard stories, and I came to know as a fact that several of the top IFBB administrators, judges, had criminal backgrounds. I thought that was quite interesting.
Despite filming the Olympia in its entirety, the CBS film crew declined to produce the footage upon returning to the US, believing the contest had been unfairly biased in Arnold's favour. As a direct result, CBS's relationship with the Olympia was irreparably damaged. Despite all this, Arnold still claimed the $25,000 prize and solidified his legacy, though the controversy surrounding his victory remains a hot topic amongst bodybuilding fans to this day. At the Olympia's close, Arnold would once again announce his retirement from bodybuilding. At the 1981 Mr. Olympia, we would have a new champion. Following the highly controversial contest the year prior, which was held in Australia, the 1981 Mr. Olympia was once again returned to Columbus. The controversies from that year carried over into this, with a dark cloud still hanging over the event. In protest of the 1980 decision, Frank Zane, Mike Mensa, and Boyer Coe all chose to boycott the contest, urging others to do the same. Their absence left the lineup more scarce than usual, especially after Arnold's retirement. With the absence of these heavy hitters, the door was left wide open for a new champion, although this wasn't exactly what eventuated. Surprisingly, francocolumbu, Arnold's close friend and 1976 Mr. Olympia winner, made a comeback after suffering what was thought to be a career-ending leg injury in 1977 at the World's Strongest Man.
Back with the refrigerator race. francocolumbu on the left, Bob Young on the right. Mike Dayton's time, a 17.4 the time to beat. Franco moving quickly, and he's injured his left leg. Columbu is hurt. They're rushing to assist him. Young is coming on through the course. Franco is down. That left leg is injured, and here comes Bob Young.
Franco, did the doctor who's tending to it think it was broken?
They say it's broken, but I know it's not broken because I'm a chiropractor myself, and I saw the way it was dislocated. And the biggest problem is uncomfortable, but it's not too much pain, you know. I was doing too fast off start, you see. I wanted to win it because I was behind in points, and I began to run, and that was the wrong thing. You can only walk fast with that.
Chrisdickerson also made a return to the Olympia stage after what many considered to be an unjust second-place finish the year prior. Many thought that a similar situation simply could not and would not eventuate, especially on home soil. How wrong they were. Chris's shocking placing in 1980 was perhaps foreshadowing for this year. Also in attendance were Tom Platz, Roy Callender, Danny Padilla, Giuseppe Wilcox, and Dennis Tenorino. After the posing rounds had concluded, it was time for the placings. This is where the contest went pear-shaped. The crowd erupted into a chorus of boos when fan favourite Padilla was announced in 5th place, forcing a pause as the noise drowned out the announcer. The audible shock and disapproval spread when Callender was named in 4th, revealing that Columbo had at least made it into the top 3. It was starting to feel like a repeat of the year prior, which was certainly not what the IFBB needed. Tensions peaked further as Platz was announced in 3rd place, but the roof was truly blown off when Columbo was declared the winner, and not in a good way.
Second place goes to chrisdickerson.
Reflecting on the contest, 5th place finisher Danny Padilla stated, "Yeah, Franco was blocky. He had no leg size or cuts. He was bow-legged. He was everything a Mr. Olympia should not be. The guy trained maybe 8 weeks for the contest, and it showed." Alongside Padilla, Franco was also criticised in a similar fashion by fans and critics in equal measure. The main issue raised amongst critics was his limited conditioning, being particularly criticised for his washed-out legs and visible signs of gynecomastia. Regardless, history is history, and Columbo clinched his 2nd and final Mr. Olympia title, as well as his $25,000 in prize money before retiring. Most baffling of all were the gaps between 1st, 2nd and 3rd place. Chris narrowly pipped 3rd place finisher Tom Platz by just 1 point. However, both men trailed Franco by a wider margin. Tom Platz, who many considered to be the true victor, including myself, trailed Dickerson by only 1 point, yet lost to Columbo by 6. This of course marked the 2nd time Dickerson was controversially denied the crown, though this would not stand the following year. This year's contest would be held at the Wembley Conference Centre in London, England. This historic venue perfectly facilitated this contest for the sellout crowd in attendance. After boycotting the 1981 event, Frankzane and Boyako returned to the stage, while Mike Mensa remained absent. The Olympia featured 16 competitors and was highly anticipated due to the return of these top athletes. Although Frankzane drew attention with his comeback, Franco Columbu was notably absent, occupied with filming Conan the Barbarian. What was his role, you might ask? I'm so glad you did. Franco featured as the Pictish scout at the start of the film. Interestingly, later he would also feature in the 1984 blockbuster The Terminator as the future Terminator. Tom Platz, considered a strong contender, suffered a torn right bicep 6 weeks before the show. Despite brushing this off like it was a mere flesh wound and still competing, the injury certainly impacted his performance. He potentially could have hidden this, however, if it wasn't pointed out by Arnold, who was not even competing, to one of the judges. Regardless, Platz appeared at his biggest ever, showcasing unmatched leg development and an electrifying stage charisma that certainly captivated the audience. Three-time champion frankzane delivered a breathtaking new routine featuring his signature poses, impressing many to the point of believing that he deserved the title. Al Beckles and Lance Dreyer were also standouts during the posing rounds, with Beckles in top form and Dreyer displaying some of the largest arms on the stage, which are reminiscent of Larryscott, regardless of his 15th placing. Ultimately, however, it was Chrisdickerson who claimed the title and the $25,000 check, becoming the 1982 Mr. Olympia champion.
And the winner, and the 1982 Mr. Olympia, Chrisdickerson, USA.
Zane placed second, followed by Casey Weider, Samirbannout, and Albert Beckles. This year, the tides had turned, and Dickerson became the first openly gay bodybuilder to win on the grandest stage. He also became the oldest to ever do it, at 43 years. Platz's injury led to a disappointing result of 6th place in the competition. Interestingly, Chrisdickerson would not return to the Olympia stage the following year to defend his title, leaving the door wide open for a new champion. The 1983 took place on September 24th at the Olympia Hall in Munich, Germany. This venue once again perfectly ensconced the awesome crowd of over 3,000 attendees. With over 15 elite bodybuilders competing for the title, this year was set to be one for the history books. Last year's champion, Chrisdickerson, did not compete, leaving the title vacant once again. The competitors consisted of three-time champion frankzane, whose aesthetic statuesque build was popular at the time, Muhammad Makawe, who had just won 2 Grand Prix contests and the World Professional Championship back to back to back, and Samirbannout, who is considered by many to be the frontrunner in the lead up to the contest. Also in attendance were Englishman Bertel Fox, Germany's Jusop Wilkosch, and Barbados-born Albert Beckles, among others. When it came time for the posing rounds, numerous competitors made a strong impact. Leehaney made a striking debut with his impressive 5'11", 230-pound physique, which gave him an imposing aura on stage. Many in attendance argued that this was quickly quelled, however, whenever Fox approached him, due to his impressive muscular size and density. Makawe, despite looking somewhat washed out at prejudging, came in looking extremely sharp in the evening, which many believe is the only reason that he was not given the nod. Zane, on the other hand, came in looking flatter in the evening show, which was sure to affect his placing. A hush fell over the crowd as Oscar State approached the microphone to announce the results. He started with 6th place.
In 6th place, Jusop Wilkosch, Deutschland.
As the crowd showed some disdain, but this level of disdain paled in comparison to what would soon follow. He continued,
In 5th place, Bertel Fox, England.
The crowd booed for more than 5 minutes before Fox stormed off stage, right past IFBB president Ben Weider. The 4th place finisher was announced to be frankzane, who would retire after this contest.
In 4th Platz, 4th place, frankzane, USA.
Olympia debutant Leehaney was announced in 3rd, but he would only improve from here.
In 3rd place, Leehaney, USA.
Ultimately, Samirbannout claimed the Olympia crown and the $25,000 check.
Mr. Olympia, 1983, Samirbannout.
Bannout had clearly impressed the judges with his well-balanced physique and sharp conditioning. This left Mohamed Makawe as the second place finisher, who again may well have won the contest if his conditioning was as solid in the earlier rounds as it was in the evening show.
In second place, Mohamed Makawe Egyptian.
Regardless, by the smile on his face when his hand was raised alongside the victor, he can't have been too worried by his placing. The question on everyone's mind was, could the Lion of Lebanon back up next year? Held on November 3rd at the Philheath Forum in New York City, the 1984 Mr. Olympia dawned a new age. An age which was built upon the shoulders of who was to become the new Mr. Olympia champion. Additionally, the total prize pool was raised to a record-breaking combined total of $100,000. With 20 athletes competing, it was built up as being one of the most highly anticipated and competitive bodybuilding events of all time. This year's contest is remembered for the wildly dynamic clash between veteran and emerging bodybuilders. Legendary bodybuilders from the 60s and 70s, including Dickerson, Coe, Beckles, and Robinson, went head-to-head with rising talent such as Platts, Haney, Bob Birdsong, Bob Paris, and Tony Pearson. Sergiooliva also made a return to the big stage, but certainly not in the same dominant fashion as years past. Notably, Calendar came in shredded, but noticeably downsized. Wilcox, at 6 feet tall and 230 pounds of grainy muscle, looked extremely sharp. Dickerson, who had taken 2 years off after his 1982 Olympia victory, also made a comeback to the stage, though was unfortunately heavily outmuscled by the new age competition. Bob Paris, at just 24 years old, made his highly anticipated professional debut. With near-perfect aesthetics and a crazy X-frame, many believed Paris had the potential to snatch the title. After a couple of contentious decisions at the start of the decade and single crown champions, the stage was set for another dominant champion, not seen since the reign of Arnold Schwarzenegger. This duty would befall at the hands of Leehaney. After a busy and impactful rookie season, during the entire year leading up to the Olympia, Leehaney took a break from competing to focus on improving his physique. After training religiously with rising star Rich Gaspari, who is known for his insane training and shredded glutes,
I know you're kind of loose in the gym. Rich is completely one way. He's all business, got the blinders on. I know you like to bust some stones out there. How much smack talk were you throwing to Rich when you guys were training?
You know, me and Rich were foaming at the mouth. We didn't talk a lot. Only time we said is like when you were pissed off or something, or get out of the way, we're getting ready to do the set. And Rich was one, you know, I'm the nice guy. Rich said, get out of the way, bum. Get ready to do a set. And somebody walked up and said, excuse me, can I? Rich said, get away from here. We training. I was always a nice guy.
Lee returned to the Mr. Olympia stage with one of the most impressive transformations in bodybuilding history. Lee walked on stage at a lean 243 pounds with an unbeatable combination of size and aesthetics, and I don't say that lightly. This earned him the description of mass with class. I can't say that in an Australian accent because it doesn't rhyme. Mass with class, I guess. Anyway, at just 24, Haney dominated the competition and won his first of 8 Mr. Olympia titles, ushering in a new era. Barbados-born athletes Roy Calendar and Albert Beckles would take 5th and 4th place respectively, placing behind German-born Josep Wilcox, who placed 3rd. Despite standing at just 5'2" and weighing only 160 pounds, Makawe defied expectations by placing 2nd yet again. Muhammad was known as the Magic Egyptian due to his flawless symmetry and expert posing, which would captivate audiences and judges, drawing attention away from his smaller size. Interestingly, amongst the top 6 bodybuilders, only one, Leehaney, was American. With Haney's dominant victory at this historical event in front of a record-breaking crowd, he would receive the unprecedented prize money of $50,000. To bring it around full circle, this victory also marked the start of what would become known as the Haney era. The 1985 Mr. Olympia was held on October 26 in Brussels at the Forest National Theatre. This was the first time that Belgium hosted the prestigious competition, marking a shift towards globalizing the sport and bringing it beyond US borders. With the total prize pool of $100,000, the same as last year, this was now clear. This enticing purse clearly attracted most of the world's top bodybuilders, as the card totaled a record-breaking 24 competitors. Leehaney, who had won in 1984, returned as the competition's frontrunner. However, it was clear that he would face strong pushback, most notably from veterans like Albert Beckles, Mohamed Makawe, and Tom Platz. This said, rookies would also pose a threat, including Haney's training partner, Rich Gaspari, and Olympia debutants, Mike Christian and Barry DeMay. As the posing rounds progressed, it was clear early that the main athletes in contention for the title were Haney, Beckles, and Gaspari. This constitutes the top three. Gaspari had a decent amount of muscle, but did not yet have the muscle maturity to hang with Haney. As a result of this, he would take home the bronze.
Third place, Richie Gaspari.
Richie Gaspari in third, and that's a heck of an accomplishment for this kid. 22 years old, he's come a long way. He's a young one, he's going to do well in bodybuilding, he's done it already. And the fans are chanting Alberts.
After the pose down had concluded, the judges had decided that Beckles was deserving of second, in what must be his best showing ever, only being bested by one of the most dominant future champions of all time.
Second place,
Who's it going to be?
$20,000.
Or Haney? $20,000.
Albert Beckles.
Albert Beckles is in second place, and Leehaney is the overall champion and wins 2 years in a row. $50,000. Leehaney is the winner.
Most impressively, Al achieved this at the age of 56, twice that of Haney.
That was one of the closest competitions I've ever seen at the Mr. Olympia competition. Albert Beckles was in the best shape of his life. Naturally, he's disappointed, but he's $20,000 richer, and he's moving up. Last year he was in fourth place, this year second. This man continues to improve as he gets older. He's 54 years old, which is amazing. Leehaney is only 26.
Ultimately, however, Haney secured his second consecutive title and the $50,000 purse, cementing his status as a dominant force in the sport.
Mr. Olympia, Leehaney.
It's very, very hard to beat.
Haney's back-to-back wins in 1984 and 1985 truly placed him on everyone's radar, but he was just warming up.
Hi, welcome to the 22nd Mr. Olympia event. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Joe Weider. This is my great friend and our great champion, Lou Ferrigno. Both he and I are here tonight to congratulate all the great champions vying for the Mr. Olympia title and $125,000 in prizes. Lou, don't you wish that you were out there on stage competing against these great champions?
I usually think about that, Joe, and I feel if I trained 1 year, I could beat everyone. By the way, in your opinion, who do you think could win tonight?
Me. Anyways, let's go backstage, Lou. I'm anxious to see who the winner is going to be.
Okay.
You're in for a great show.
After being held in New York and Belgium, the 1986 Mr. Olympia returned to its historical venue, the Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Columbus, Ohio. Much of the attention leading up to the event focused on reigning champion Leehaney and the increased prize pool, which now totaled $120,000. This created a buzz amongst fans and competitors alike. Leehaney, already a two-time champion, arrived in peak condition, and it seemed apparent that he would soon make it 3. To do this, he had to defeat Gaspari, Christian, Beckles, DeMay, and debutant Peter Hansel, among others. Despite this stacked lineup, Haney's exceptional muscle development, stage presence, and flawless posing was going to be difficult to contend with. It seemed likely that he would soon dominate the field of 14 competitors. This proved to be a hurdle too high for any of Haney's competitors to jump over, as he would secure his 3rd consecutive Mr. Olympia title and the $55,000 in prize money.
Mr. Olympia 1986, $55,000. Perfect score for Leehaney. 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 Mr. Olympia 1986, $55,000. First place, Mr. Olympia 1986. That's Leehaney.
He outshined runner-up Rich Gaspari and 3rd place Mike Christian due to his detailed and dense muscle bellies. Despite his strong showings in past Olympias, Tom Platz unfortunately placed 11th. This event marked the final competition for the veteran bodybuilder, who announced his retirement at the conclusion of the event.
Tell me, what's the most exciting moment of your life?
86 Olympia.
Yeah.
I placed my lowest as a result of the show, but I was able to go out there. I was able to walk to the front of the stage. I was able to have people look at me and their eyes opened up. And everybody in the audience stood up and yelled something, I don't know what it was, and they yelled, put their arms up, and nobody was on the earth. Everybody was like spiritually and mentally not on the earth. It was the most incredible, most meaningful experience ever in my life. I mean, money can't buy that. I didn't get the title, but I touched that. When you touch that, that was everything.
Due to the increased prize pool, 4th placed finisher Albert Beckles would receive $9,000, 5th place finisher Barry DeMay received $6,000, and 6th place finisher Peter Hansel received $4,000.
Wherever you've been viewing the competition, whether here in Columbus or anywhere else, we hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed putting it on. Let's hear it one more time for all of the contestants, but most of all for the perfect score of Leehaney, Mr. Olympia 1986.
The 1987 Mr. Olympia competition took place on October 31st at the Scandinavium Arena in Gothenburg, Sweden. The contest featured 18 elite bodybuilders, ranging from emerging talents to established stars. At the forefront was Leehaney, aiming to secure his 4th straight Mr. Olympia title. Haney was now widely renowned for his exceptional genetics and for having 3, count them, 3, Sandows in the bank. As a result, Haney was a clear crowd favourite to take home the title. Once again, Rich Gaspari emerged as his main challenger, just as he had the previous year. Lee Labrada also made his Olympia debut, who I believe is deeply underrated due to his proportions, classical structure, and aesthetic posing. Also in attendance were Christian, Robinson, DeMay, Beckles, and debutant Eduardo Kawak, among others. The Olympia aficionados among you might have also realised that this correlates to the 4th through 8th place finishes. Despite Gaspari's impressive muscularity and Labrada's classical frame, Haney's incredible physique stole the spotlight, and Gaspari and Labrada's hopes started to fade. Haney's stage presence was imposing, and his physique left both judges and competitors in awe. As such, when it came time to announce the results, debutant Labrada was announced in 3rd.
On 3rd place, from United States of America, Lee Labrada. There's 2 contestants left.
Haney had yet again proved his dominance, claiming both the Sandow Trophy and the $55,000 in prize money, and Gaspari was announced as the runner-up.
And now we're going to announce the winner. The winner of $55,000 and the Mr. Olympia title, the biggest title in the world in professional bodybuilding. The winner in 1987, Mr. Olympia in Gothenburg, is Leehaney. And second place goes to Rich Gaspari. Leehaney and second place, Rich Gaspari. Leehaney, the champion from Sweden, Gothenburg.
With his 4th Sandow Trophy now earned, Haney was now on track to becoming one of bodybuilding's all-time greats. His 1987 win brought him one step closer to Arnold Schwarzenegger's legendary record, one that he was now highly motivated to surpass. The 1988 Mr. Olympia, held on September 10 at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles, was one for the ages. The competition drew over 6,000 fans, setting a record for the venue itself. As a result of its growing popularity, the total prize money for the peak bodybuilding show had reached a new high of $150,000. The contest featured a dominant defending champion in Haney, who was looking to claim his 5th Sandow Trophy. The roster included 20 elite bodybuilders, which was an amalgamation of seasoned veterans with promising newcomers. Haney would need to quell returning competitors Gaspari, DeMay, and Labrada, and debutante hopefuls Gary Stridham, Mike Quinn, and Brian Buchanan, among others. When it came to the posing round, Haney's confident performance, set to the dramatic music of Richard Wagner, captivated the audience and judges alike. His main challenger, Rich Gaspari, delivered a strong routine as well. However, his physique seemed to fall just short of the defending champions. In the end, he did in fact claim second, marking his final serious attempt at the title, while Barry DeMay was announced in third.
Third place is Joe Weider. It goes to Barry DeMay.
Ultimately, Haney would successfully claim his 5th consecutive title in dominant fashion. He won the contest with a flawless score, cementing his position at the top of the podium.
Presenting the 1988 Mr. Olympia Cash Award, Trophy, Scholarship, and the rest, Joe Weider will present it to the 5-time Mr. Olympia Leehaney.
Despite the talent on the stage, Haney's commanding presence left many fans wondering if anyone could realistically challenge his reign, as he moved closer to matching Arnold Schwarzenegger's historic record. The 25th iteration of the Mr. Olympia competition took place on September 9, 1989 in Rimini, Italy. With over 20 competitors from around the globe, the contest was expected to be dominated by reigning champion Leehaney, who was pursuing his 6th consecutive win. Despite a strong lineup of 21 athletes, Haney stood out with his unmatched size and symmetry. The roster also included Lee Labrada, Vince Taylor, Rich Gaspari, Mohamed Benaziza, and Mike Christian, among others. Haney's elite genetics and innovative training techniques made him a formidable foe for his adversaries. Haney's commanding stage presence overshadowed his rivals for the duration of the contest. Labrada, praised for his aesthetics and posing, was seen as the only real threat to Haney's reign. Despite Labrada's strong showing, he would not quite have what it took to topple the reigning champion. When it came time to announce the placings, it would be revealed that Olympia debutant Vince Taylor placed third.
They will take the third place award and give it to Vince Taylor.
Rich Gaspari had slipped down to fourth.
The fourth place award will be given by francocolumbu again, and he will take it to competitor Rich Gaspari. The third place award being given by IFBB President Ben Weider.
While Labrada placed second, which would be his best placing at the Mr. Olympia ever.
Second place award. Again being given by Joe and Ben Weider. And they will take the Mr. Olympia silver medal and bring it to Lee Labrada.
Ultimately, Haney's victory solidified his place in bodybuilding history and set the stage for his pursuit of a record-tying 7th Sandow in 1990. Lee would enjoy the purse of $75,000 and set his gaze on next year.
And the winner of Mr. Olympia for 6th consecutive year, Leehaney.
The 1990 Mr. Olympia was held on the 15th of September at Chicago's Erie Crown Theatre. Reigning champion Lee Haney was vying for his 7th straight Sandow, looking to match Arnold Schwarzenegger's long-standing record. Additionally, the winner was promised half of the contest's unprecedented $200,000 purse. Interestingly, this was the first and only Mr. Olympia that implemented testing.
The contest was historic not only because Lee Haney was trying for his record-tying 7th win, it was also the first time that Mr. Olympia contestants would be tested.
This decision was intended to legitimize the sport. However, the new protocol drew sharp criticism. This criticism was voiced by fans and athletes alike, as many felt it dulled competitors' physiques and therefore their competitiveness. This was seen clearly at the night of the contest. As a result, the IFBB scrapped mandatory testing the very next year. Nonetheless, the 1990 show set a precedent for conversations about performance-enhancing substances in professional bodybuilding going forward. This decision was made by the Weiders as they felt pressure from the rise of a new federation, which was deemed to be a legitimate threat to the dominance of the Olympia. World Wrestling Federation owner Vince McMahon and retired bodybuilder Tom Platz used a vendor booth and their presence at the award ceremony to officially announce a rival league, the World Bodybuilding Federation, or WBF.
Hi, this is Tom Platz from WBF Bodybuilding Lifestyles. It's the only bodybuilding magazine that gives you an up-close and personal look at the entire world of fitness and at all the superstars in the World Bodybuilding Federation. It's WBF Magazine, and it's available at newsstands everywhere. Check out the best. Check out WBF Magazine today.
Although the Federation would suck in some athletes with enticing paychecks, the WBF collapsed within just 2 years. As for the Olympia itself, the final standings reflected both global reach and American dominance. A total of 8 US athletes occupied the top 12, while France's Frances Bonfato, Germany's Frank Hillerbrand, Lebanon's samirbannout, Austria's Andreas Munzer, Switzerland's Jean-Luc Favre, and Barbados-born Bernard Seely rounded out a truly international lineup. Yet, as the night progressed, it seemed ultimately destined for Leehaney, who took the first round of the competition. Despite the first round going to Haney, round 2 belonged to Lee Labrada. Labrada's flawless score briefly put the title within reach. However, he eventually had to settle for second place.
Oh, they just announced number 2.
Placing ahead of Sean Ray, Mike Christian, and Rich Gaspari. Leehaney had once again snatched the Sandow and claimed the $100,000 purse.
So number 1, and for the 7th time, 7 straight years, Leehaney is Mr. Olympia.
Does it again. It's 7 in a row.
Not only 7 in a row for Leehaney, but it ties Arnold Schwarzenegger's record of 7 Mr. Olympia championships. A true champion, Leehaney, in every way, shape, and form. It had to be close.
It's very close. Leehaney, not in the best shape of his life, but looks great nevertheless.
Setting the stage for his record-breaking 8th victory the following year. The 1991 Mr. Olympia was held on the 14th of September at Orlando Walt Disney's World Dolphin Theatre. The contest was billed as a showdown between reigning 7-time champion Leehaney and British newcomer Dorianyates. After 27 athletes had earned their place on stage, anticipation centered on whether Haney could secure a record-setting 8th Sandow trophy. Prejudging confirmed the hype.
Okay, next up, you ready for Dorianyates, folks? He's 5'10", 239, he's 29 years old, and everybody's been waiting for Dorian because in the prejudging, when Dorian and Leehaney were set side by side, they were extremely impressive, and Dorian might be the one man who can knock Lee off.
Haney's classic width and fuller upper body were evenly matched by Yates's granite hardness and sweeping quads, leaving the two tied on the scorecards. Their head-to-head comparisons electrified the crowd of 3,000 onlookers, with each compulsory pose being met by roars. Would Haney's seasoned symmetry pip Yates's pure mass? Although many spectators felt Dorian edged several exchanges, Haney's crisp definition and stage presence kept him in contention. The evening finals heightened this tension. Haney delivered his most inspired routine to the all-familiar theme of Excalibur, signifying the return of the king.
You couldn't be beat. That was my mindset. That's what I worked on my entire career. And it all came together when I chose the music Excalibur. That was the return of the king.
While Yates's functional Conan-themed posing showcased a thicker, denser frame than even his May Night of Champions win. In the climactic pose down, the pair jostled for center stage, their mutual respect evident even as elbows clashed. While Yates clearly snatched the muscularity segment, the judges ultimately favored Haney's polish and experience, awarding him the individual posing and pose down rounds. It was, however, extremely close. When the final scores were tallied, Haney triumphed by a mere 3-point margin, claiming his 8th and final Mr. Olympia before retiring.
Haney,
he did it again,
is the Mr. O one more time.
At just 31 years of age, Haney had surpassed the Austrian Oaks record, cementing his status as the greatest of all time. Dorian Yates, pocketing the $50,000 runner-up check, left Orlando hailed as the heir apparent. Dorian and his fans believed that he would secure the Sandow the following year. The 1992 Mr. Olympia contest took place on September 12, 1992 at Helsinki Ice Hall in Finland. This competition featured top athletes from around the world, each competing for a total prize pool of $275,000. Perhaps the most exciting moment from this contest was the comeback of Lou Ferrigno, the iconic bodybuilder who had been absent from competition for 17 years. At 41 years old, Ferrigno returned to the Olympia stage with an imposing 290-pound physique, still embodying the powerful presence that had made him famous in the 1970s. This return, however, highlighted the changes in the sport. Bodybuilders had grown larger and more muscular since his prime, and Ferrigno's preparation, timing, and posing were reflective of his long hiatus. Lou's bodybuilding career had significant twists before his 1992 comeback. After famously competing alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 1975 Mr. Olympia and being immortalized in the docudrama Pumping Iron, Ferrigno left the sport to pursue acting. Successfully, I might add, as he landed the lead role in the hit TV series The Incredible Hulk. Despite opportunities to return earlier, contractual negotiations and the emergence of a new bodybuilding organisation delayed his competitive comeback. This was because he was signed by the World Bodybuilding Federation, or the WBF, in 1991, but never competed in any events. The WBF disbanded after a low buy rate event in 1992, and Ferrigno was left a free agent. Despite his triumphant return, on the night of the Olympia, Ferrigno placed 12th. Ronniecoleman also made his debut in this event, but didn't go too great either, failing to place. Kevin Levrone was anticipated to put Dorian through his paces, as he had already claimed the 1992 Night of Champions and the German Grand Prix. Lee Labrada and Sean Ray also returned to the stage, placing 3rd and 4th respectively.
4th place, a check for $25,000. Give it to Sean Ray. And Johanny will take that 3rd place check. And Labrada.
While Momo Benaziza placed 5th. Despite the momentum he had built in the lead up to the contest, Levrone was eventually announced in 2nd.
2nd place, Kevin Levrone.
Therefore, Dorian Yates had claimed his first Mr. Olympia title and the top prize of $100,000. But the question was, could he make it to the following year? The 1993 Mr. Olympia Contest was held on September 11 at the Atlanta Civic Center in Atlanta, Georgia. This edition marked the final Mr. Olympia appearance of Lou Ferrigno, who improved upon his previous placing of 12th by finishing 10th, taking home $5,000 for his troubles. Additionally, Ray McNeil competed in this event for the only time before his untimely passing in 1995. The total prize pool for the competition was set at $275,000, with the winner taking home $100,000. Once again, the roster showcased a broad international field, reflecting the global appeal of professional bodybuilding at the time. The lineup featured Charles Claremont from Barbados, Sonny Schmidt from Australia, Andreas Munzer from Austria, and Milosavljev from the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, among others. Ultimately, Dorian Yates secured his 2nd consecutive Mr. Olympia title, solidifying his position as the reigning champion, receiving $100,000 for his troubles. Flex Wheeler was announced as the runner-up, earning $50,000, and Sean Ray took home $30,000 for 3rd place. Lee Labrada, Kevin Levrone, and Paul Dillette placed 4th, 5th, and 6th, respectively. Once again, fans were left wondering whether Yates could win the following year and take home his 3rd Mr. Olympia title. The 1994 Mr. Olympia was held on the 10th of September at the Atlantic Civic Center in Georgia. Reigning champion Dorian Yates entered the competition with a torn left bicep, which occurred just 6 weeks prior to the contest. This would certainly pose a threat to his title retention. For those 6 weeks, Dorian could barely train. He could barely even pose. Moreover, on the night of the contest, this injury was visibly noticeable and became a significant point of discussion amongst fans and analysts alike, both during the contest and afterward. Shawn Ray smelled blood in the water and was considered a strong contender, being hungry to gain his first Sandow. Despite many fans and bodybuilders not liking Ray the person, no one can deny his appeal as a potential champion. Some people believe that Ray deserved the title due to his superior symmetry, shape, and overall conditioning compared to that of the blocky Dorianyates. Secondly, Kevin Levrone entered with his impressive X-frame physique. His imposing yet aesthetic physique reinforced his status as one of the night's top competitors. Quick side note, this event also marked the introduction of the Masters Olympia, designed for professional bodybuilders over 40 years of age. This, of course, expanded the opportunities for veteran athletes to compete on the grandest stage. Robbie Robinson took home first place in the Masters, with Ferrigno in second and Coe in third. On the main stage, the prize money awarded was set at $275,000, with the victor taking home $100,000. Despite the hefty prize money and competitive field, the 1994 remains best remembered for Yates' resilience through injury, or conversely, and perhaps more indicatively, the injury itself, which was visibly apparent on stage, as he took home the Sandow and $100,000 in prize money, with Shawn Ray taking second and Kevin Levrone taking third. This left Shawn feeling bitter, as he felt he should have won, a sentiment which is shared by many fans, including myself. Regardless of your opinion or potential bias, there's no denying that Yates did not look his best. This led to controversy, which sparked debates within the bodybuilding community. This debate swirled as fans and critics argued the fairness of the outcome, and most importantly, raised questions about politics. But the result of this competition would pale in comparison to the night of 1997. September 10th, 1995, Atlanta Civic Center, Georgia. The air was thick with anticipation as the world's best bodybuilders gathered for this year's iteration of the Mr. Olympia Contest. At the center of it all stood Dorian Yates, the reigning champion, chasing his 4th consecutive title. Dorian had done enough to win the year prior, despite a severe bicep injury. This year, he was seeking to quell the voices of the naysayers and return to form. Despite lacking some definition in his left arm, Dorian showed up to the Olympia stage with his trademark granite conditioning, freakish density, and unrivaled back development. His physique was still a level above most of the competition in terms of sheer mass and muscular hardness. Challenging him was Kevin Levrone, who brought arguably the best version of himself to the stage. Kevin boasted round muscle bellies, aesthetic lines, and near-perfect symmetry. Many fans in attendance believed that Levrone had what it took to dethrone the champion. Nasser El Somebody also returned to the Olympia stage, boasting a combination of size, shape, and conditioning. He was perhaps the only other man to truly rival Dorian's freakish size. Regardless, these two men would eventually be announced in 2nd and 3rd respectively. Shawn Ray, the model of consistency, brought his usual razor-sharp conditioning, flowing lines, and flawless posing. But at just over 200 pounds, he simply couldn't match the mass of the podium finishers, placing 4th. In the end, the judges announced the reigning champion as the Sandow recipient.
And the winner, for the 4th year in a row, receiving the largest check in bodybuilding history to date, $110,000.
Dorian Yates retained his title, marking 4 wins in a row and sending a clear message. Size and conditioning will continue to reign supreme in the IFBB. September 21st, 1996. The world of bodybuilding and the fans in attendance once again turned their attention to the bodybuilders under the lights of the Airy Crown Theatre in Chicago. This wasn't just another show, it was a critical moment in the legacy of Dorianyates. Coming off the back of 4 consecutive Mr. Olympia victories, Yates arrived aiming for his 5th Sandow trophy. Dorian had built a reputation for having a dense, massive, and grainy physique. Meanwhile, the competition was fiercer than ever. Shawn Ray presented his usual razor-sharp conditioning and near-perfect proportions. Kevin Levrone brought intense upper body development, charisma, and classic lines. But it was Nasser El Somebody who turned the most heads. Bigger than ever before, with improved conditioning and incredible fullness, many in the crowd believed that he should have placed first. Yet this inherently became impossible. Despite placing in 3rd as per the scorecards, Nasser was disqualified due to testing positive for a banned diuretic. When the final callouts were complete and the lights dimmed, it was Dorianyates who stood victorious once again, earning his 5th Mr. Olympia title. Shawn Ray placed 2nd, Levrone 3rd, Wheeler 4th, Dillette 5th, and Ronniecoleman came in 6th. With a disappointed Shawn Ray placing 2nd, it seemed evident that the Mr. Olympia wasn't just about size anymore. The conversation around aesthetics, balance, and conditioning had begun. Still, for now, the shadow remained in power. Injured or not injured, Dorianyates always proved to be the man to beat. Long Beach, California, September 20. The lights dimmed at the Terrace Theatre and the crowd roared as the world's most elite bodybuilders took the stage at the prestigious Mr. Olympia Contest. This event is where champions are made and legends are tested. At the center of it all was the shadow Dorianyates, the reigning 5-time Mr. Olympia. But behind the shadow of his dominance loomed questions. Was Dorian still at his peak? Could someone finally dethrone him? Soon, these questions would be answered. Yates had built his legacy on mass, density, and conditioning. But this year, something was different. Whispers filled the air. Yates had suffered a torn left tricep in the lead up to the contest. Though he managed to maintain most of his legendary conditioning, the injury caused visible asymmetry in his left arm and shoulder, which had atrophied and looked blurry. On stage, this didn't go unnoticed, and his challengers were circling like sharks. Always a spectacle, the massive Nasser El Somebody brought size and fullness. Many in the crowd, and several experts, felt that he had done enough to take the title. Despite his commanding stage presence, which allowed him to win the prejudging round, this wasn't quite enough. When it was time for the announcements, the judges ultimately sided with Yates, giving him his 6th and final Mr. Olympia title.
6-time Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates.
While Nasser was announced as the runner-up.
Nasser El Somebody.
Just behind them was a rising tide of future Hall of Famers. Shawn Ray, ever consistent, landed in 3rd. Dillette took 4th with his trademark blend of mass and charisma, though didn't quite bring enough to place any higher. Meanwhile, Aussie legend Lee Priest placed in 5th, and Kevin Levrone slid down to 6th. Unfortunately, prior to the Olympia, Flex Wheeler withdrew from the contest after injuring himself fighting off 2 would-be carjackers.
Approximately 9 days before the Olympia, I was involved in a carjacking where 2 cars pulled up one car on each side of me, and we fought. And I don't want to get into what happened between me and the 2 people because I don't feel that it's important. Basically, the outcome of it was, I sustained some injuries. They both sustained more serious injuries than I did, to the point where they didn't have a need for a car anymore.
In retrospect, the 1997 Mr. Olympia was more than just another contest. It was the end of an era. Dorianyates, who had dominated the Mr. Olympia stage for years prior, retired shortly after the show. Bodybuilding fans were left wondering who would rise to take his place. A legend in the making was coming, but for one last night, the shadow stood alone at the top. October 10, Madison Square Garden, New York City. The Mr. Olympia stage was set for a seismic shift. For 6 straight years, Dorianyates had reigned supreme, a colossus with unmatched density and sheer mass. But after a career plagued by injuries, the Shadow finally stepped into retirement. In his wake, Yates left behind a vacant throne. All eyes turned to the stage as the established favourites, Flex Wheeler, Nasser El Somebody, Kevin Levrone and Sean Ray took the stage. Up until this point, Ronniecoleman was respected, but not feared, and certainly not seen as a real threat to the title, especially after his 9th place finish the year prior. Flex Wheeler, with his flowing lines and symmetry, was more determined than ever to claim the title. Wheeler had come in lean and polished, brimming with confidence, and many believed it was finally his time. Next in contention was Sean Ray, the veteran with the razor-sharp conditioning and classic proportions. Lastly, Nasser El Somebody was simply massive. Kevin Levrone, with his granite-like physique and powerful stage presence, was coming off the back of numerous pro victories. Momentum was definitely on his side. Perplexed by why and how Kevin was securing all of these pro victories, Ronniecoleman saw only opportunity. Very shortly before the Olympia, he decided to approach Kevin and ask him for some advice, the results of which were shocking, to say the least.
I said, won't you just have a seat, man, do a shot of his vodka with him. So he goes over to his coffee maker, pours the coffee in a cup. Then he goes to the refrigerator and pours out a bottle of vodka. And he pours that into the cup. And he says, drink that. I'm like,
I don't drink no alcohol, Kevin. You know that? I don't drink no alcohol, man. Man, bodybuilders can't do that.
I said, listen, take a shot of this vodka, man. You'll be all right. I said, you know, just chill, man. Take it easy. So he took a shot.
Man, you sure?
I said, yeah, I'm sure. So he drank it, and
man, this stuff don't taste right, man. I ain't used to this in my body, but if you say do it, I'm gonna do it.
I said, all right, go ahead and drink that. All right, so he drank it. We sat down and talked. I gave him another shot. Gave him another shot, right? So about the 5th shot, he's like,
man, this stuff pretty good. You got it. Let me have another shot of that.
But when Ronniecoleman stepped on stage, the audience were stunned. This was not the same bodybuilder they had seen in years past. Ronnie had transformed. He was bigger, sharper, and more conditioned than ever before. Coleman was simply on another level. His back double biceps pose alone seemed to secure the victory. Thick, detailed, and impossibly wide. Flex Wheeler also looked phenomenal, but next to Ronnie's shocking package of mass and detail, he appeared simply outsized. When the placings were announced, it was official. Ronniecoleman was crowned the 1998 Mr. Olympia champion, thereby marking the beginning of what many would say was the most dominant dynasties in bodybuilding history.
In 2nd place, Flex Wheeler.
Flex Wheeler settled for 2nd, while Nasser, Kevin, and Sean rounded out the top 5. As Ronnie claimed his first victory, it was clear that a legend was born, and bodybuilding would never be the same again. October 21, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights dimmed at the Mandalay Bay Arena. The bodybuilding world once again turned its gaze in anticipation for the ultimate showdown, the Mr. Olympia Contest. At center stage stood Ronniecoleman, the reigning champion, a man who had shocked the world with his win in 1998. Many had doubted him then, calling it a fluke. But this time, Ronnie had come prepared to silence every critic, and silence he would. From the moment he walked out, it was clear Coleman had simply evolved. He was bigger, sharper, and more confident than ever. His blend of mass and conditioning had reached a new level. His back, unbeatable. His legs, ridiculous. His stage presence, commanding. But despite all this, Ronnie didn't stand alone. Flex Wheeler, who was often named the most aesthetic bodybuilder of his era, came in with vengeance in mind. This was arguably one of the best versions of Flex ever. He was streamlined, dry, and complete. His symmetry, posing, and muscle control were second to none. Many believed if Flex was ever going to win the Olympia, this was his chance. Chris Cormier too was in outstanding form. Full, balanced, and elegant in posing. Next was Kevin Levrone, who brought his signature dense muscle and charisma to the stage once more. It was a stacked lineup, but the two top spots on the podium were quickly clear. It was Ronnie versus Flex. As the rounds unfolded, comparisons were intense. Ronnie's sheer mass and granite-like conditioning edged out Flex's flowing lines and classic proportions. When it finally came time to announce the placings, a lull washed over the crowd. Chris Cormier was first to take his place on the podium, claiming the bronze medal.
And they will present these awards to the third place finisher, Chris Cormier.
Flex Wheeler, despite a strong showing, had to settle for second once again.
Second place will receive a check of $50,000. Certificate to Silver Sandow Medal and the Silver Mr. Olympia Medal. Being presented by Dr. Scott Connolly of Metrics and Peter McGough of Flex Magazine. The check, the certificates, the 2 silver medals will be presented to Flex Wheeler.
Yet many fans believe that he was one of the greatest to never win Mr. Olympia. In the end, the judges recrowned Ronniecoleman, who secured his second Mr. Olympia title and solidified his place as a true champion. The 1999 Mr. Olympia wasn't just a contest. It was the dawn of a new dynasty, and his rivals would have a mammoth task in toppling the king. October 20, 2000, Mandalay Bay Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. Over the Olympia weekend, fans gathered to witness the most prestigious competition in the sport. With a hefty prize pool of $325,000 up for grabs, the pressure was palpable, and the expectations of the athletes was immense. One notable absence was Chris Cormier, who had taken third place the previous year, but was sidelined by an untimely injury just weeks before the contest. His absence left a huge gap in the lineup and opened the door for other competitors to climb the ranks. The spotlight centered on a mix of seasoned athletes and hungry challengers. Most heavily awaited were Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, and Shawn Ray, each known for their distinctive physiques and strengths. Levrone arrived in peak form, showcasing his trademark aesthetics and polished stage presence. Wheeler, who was renowned for his flowing lines and symmetry, was another favourite, though some critics noted a slight decline from his past showings. Ray, who was always a model of consistency, brought his usual sharp conditioning and classic structure. Also in contention were Nasser El Somebody with his huge size and density, Australia's Lee Priest with his compact yet impressive frame, and Marcus Rule, who always shocked the crowd with his extreme mass. Meanwhile, rising stars Jaycutler and Dexterjackson began to hint at their future impact on the sport, as they both displayed potential that suggested they wouldn't be underdogs for long. When all was said and done, Ronniecoleman once again proved untouchable, delivering an unmatched blend of mass, symmetry, and conditioning. He earned a perfect score to claim his third consecutive Mr. Olympia title. Levrone took second with one of his best performances to date, while Wheeler secured third. Ray landed in fourth, ever disappointed with his placing. Cutler and Jackson, though placing 8th and 9th respectively, left room for improvement. The night was Ronnie's, claiming his third consecutive Sandow trophy and $110,000 in prize money.
And a check for $110,000 to the three-time Olympia champion, Ronniecoleman.
Could he claim his fourth? Only time would tell. From October 26 to 28, Mandalay Bay Arena in Las Vegas once again played host to the big dance. The 2001 Mr. Olympia boasted a record-setting $400,000 prize purse and a stacked lineup. But beyond the prize money and prestige, all eyes were fixed on the head-to-head showdown between reigning champion Ronniecoleman and fast-rising contender Jaycutler. Cutler arrived with arguably the best package of his career to that point: sharp conditioning, improved symmetry, and stage presence. Fans and critics alike were convinced that this could be the year that someone finally dethroned Coleman. This said, I don't want to underplay the rest of the card. Kevin Levrone returned in top form, Shawn Ray once again delivered a masterclass in presentation, Chris Cormier battled through lingering effects of a past injury, and Orville Burke made waves with his sheer mass. Like some which came before it, this event wasn't without its share of offstage drama either. Controversy erupted when Jaycutler and Marcus Rule both failed drug tests for banned diuretics. However, those results were overthrown after it was discovered that the testing lab lacked official accreditation from the International Olympic Committee, allowing both men to retain their placings. In the end, after one of the most tightly contested battles in Olympia history, Coleman narrowly retained his crown, edging out Cutler by just 4 points. This near miss would become the spark for one of the sport's most iconic rivalries. Kevin Levrone and Shawn Ray rounded out the top 4. Due to the mere 4-point gap between Jay and Ronnie, fans and critics alike were starting to wonder if 2002 would be Jaycutler's year.
And the moment of truth, Ronniecoleman, 4-time Mr. Olympia, Jaycutler, first-time runner-up and $60,000 richer, as Ronniecoleman, known for his trademark dropping to his knees for the 4th consecutive year. Jaycutler receives the silver medallion, the $60,000 prize money. Jaycutler, admirable, gallant fight all the way to the finish for the 4th year in a row. The policeman out of Arlington, Texas, Ronniecoleman, as Jaycutler has to wonder what he has to do to upset the champion.
Regardless, this year, Ronniecoleman would take home his 4th consecutive Sandow and the $110,000 in prize money. Returning once again to the Mandalay Bay Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, with a total prize pool of $381,000 and a brand new 2003 Cadillac Escalade awarded to the winner courtesy of Bodyonics Pinnacle, the event promised high stakes and fierce competition. Fans packed the venue, eager to see whether reigning champion Ronniecoleman would extend his reign or if a new contender would rise to claim the throne. Speculation ran wild, especially after fan favourite Gunther Schlierkamp's upset victory over Coleman at the GNC Show of Strength just weeks earlier. The audience was awash with excitement, hopeful for a shift and a shake-up of the status quo. Veterans like Kevin Levrone, Chris Cormier, and dexterjackson arrived in top form, adding further depth to an already stacked lineup. Each participant brought a unique package to the stage. As the evening unfolded, performances were met with both cheers and scrutiny. Tension mounted as fans awaited the final callouts, with murmurs of controversy already brewing over the placements. Schlierkamp, in particular, received thunderous support from the crowd throughout the competition, fueling debate about how his momentum would translate into the official results at the Olympia. Interesting side note, Bob Cicciarillo, now the Master of Ceremonies of the Mr. Olympia competition, placed 18th this year. You may have noticed that I did not mention Jaycutler. This is because he chose not to compete, stating that this was due to a few reasons. Firstly, because he was swamped with life commitments, including building his dream home in Vegas. Secondly, he won the Arnold and had numerous guest posing opportunities, which arose due to his increased notoriety, and he didn't see the need financially. And third, because of his sour relationship with showrunner Wayne DeMilia.
But was that experience, I always felt like that was why you didn't do the Olympia you only skipped the Olympia 1 year after that, right? It was 2 years.
Yeah, there's a number of reasons, Ron, but you know, for me, it was a huge plus just to be second. I mean, I moved up from 8th. And the reason I sat out, remember, I went to Arnold and won in 02, that carried over. I won a lot of money. I won a Hummer truck. I won the Rolex. And I started building my home in Vegas. And I was in prep building my pool at the time, which was a 3-month process. And you know what? I was starting to flip real estate then, and I was financially making a ton from guest appearances. That second place at the Olympia propelled my guest fees like crazy. And I had the mail order running at that time with jaycutler.com. And financially, I just didn't see the reward, especially when I came so close and it got away from me. I was only $100,000 for first at the Olympia then. Right. For first, I won 60 for second. So I could make that $100,000 in appearances, no problem. So I said, it's more lucrative to ride out this second place, the Arnold victory. Why waste my time going to the Olympia? It wasn't necessary. And I didn't feel it necessary to compete. I didn't need the Olympia back then. And Wayne DeMilia was running the show then, and he was kind of to be honest, you know.
But back to the Olympia. The most debated outcome of the night was Schlierkamp's 5th place finish, a result that sparked loud boos from the crowd and reignited ongoing discussions about fan versus judge analysis.
And they will take the 5th place awards and present them to Gunther Schierkamp.
He might as well have won this show tonight.
He just did.
Yeah.
In his mind, he just did.
Incredible.
Hey guys, just want to let you know, you made my day. That means more to me than the placing. Thank you very much.
What a class act. He's a real gentleman. Good pro.
When the final rankings were announced, Coleman held on to his crown, though the margin of victory doubled at 8 points. Levrone secured a 2nd place, pushing Coleman with one of his best packages to date. Cormier followed closely in 3rd, while Dexter took 4th with symmetry and definition in equal measure, traits which were now trademark Jackson. Regardless, Ronnie successfully claimed his 5th consecutive Mr. Olympia title and $110,000 in prize money. And fans and critics alike were convinced that he would make it 6 in 2003. The 2003 Mr. Olympia was once again held at the Mandalay Bay Arena, with a record-breaking prize pool of $404,000, including $110,000 cash, and a brand new Cadillac Escalade courtesy of Pinnacle Supplements for the winner. The stakes had never been higher. But who would grace the stage? Illness forced top contender Chris Cormier to withdraw just days before stepping on stage, though he still made an appearance at the press conference. Meanwhile, other athletes like Kevin Levrone and Art Atwood pushed through injury and participated regardless. Aussie fan favourite Lee Priest, though beloved by the crowd, struggled to crack the upper tier of the lineup, finishing lower than expected. But there were also other off-stage highlights that made the night even more special. Firstly, Arnold Schwarzenegger made a surprise guest appearance. Second, Leehaney, holder of 8 Mr. Olympia titles, was honoured with a Lifetime Achievement Award presented by the IFBB and Flex magazine. And third, francocolumbu, a 2-time Mr. Olympia and longtime friend of Arnold's, received not 1, but 2 special awards. He would also jokingly rub this in Arnold's face, stating that he was happy that he was blessed with 2 awards, while Arnold got nothing. When the dust finally settled and the results were announced, it was an American sweep of the podium. Ronniecoleman once again reigned supreme, earning a perfect score across all rounds to capture his 6th consecutive Mr. Olympia title and $110,000 in prize money. His combination of staggering size and razor-sharp conditioning left no doubt about his dominance. Cutler, continuing to close the gap, claimed 2nd place for the 2nd time, while Dexterjackson's aesthetic, balanced look, and highly developed muscle maturity earned him the bronze medal. Germany's Dennis James and Günther Schlierkamp rounded out the top 5. The question rose again. Would Ronnie win again the following year? Only time would tell. The 2004 Mr. Olympia contest was held on October 30 and 31 at the Mandalay Bay Arena in Las Vegas. It attracted worldwide attention not only for the $400,000 purse, but also for a major change in how the contest was judged. 2004 introduced the challenge round, a new format that had the ability to radically alter the final outcome. Under this new system, the scores from the first 3 rounds were discarded once the top 6 was determined, with final placings decided solely through a head-to-head showdown in the challenge round. This format aimed to inject more excitement and unpredictability into the finals, but all it did was spark debate. Critics argued that it unfairly dismissed the consistency shown in earlier rounds, reducing the importance of the sustained excellence in favour of a single, potentially skewed comparison. More vocal backlash came from an athlete. Although he indeed placed 3rd in traditional scoring across the first 3 rounds, Dexterjackson lost to Gustavo Bedell in the final challenge round. This change bumped him from 3rd to 4th, off the podium, and decreased his prize money from $50,000 to $40,000. However, this was the only significant change, and the other placings were unaffected. Despite the presence of formidable physiques like Marcus Ruhl, Günther Schlierkamp, Dennis James, and Victor Martinez, none seriously challenged the top tier. In the end, Ronniecoleman reaffirmed his supremacy by capturing his 7th consecutive Mr. Olympia title and $120,000 in prize money. He dominated both the initial rounds and the challenge round, being awarded with a perfect score in the initial and 24 points in the final showdown. Jaycutler once again finished 2nd with 30 points in the initial rounds and 21 points in the showdown, marking his 3rd runner-up finish. Regardless, Ronnie continued to reinforce his legacy and set his eyes on equaling Leehaney's record 8 titles in 2005. The 2005 Mr. Olympia was staged on the 15th and 16th of October at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas. As the flagship competition of the IFBB, it gathered the most elite physiques in the sport. This was due in no small part to the record-breaking $711,000 prize pool. This constituted an increase of 32% from the previous year, with $550,000 allocated to the Mr. Olympia competition itself. The lineup featured a mix of seasoned athletes and rising stars, making the field one of the most competitive in years. Familiar names such as Chris Cormier, Marcus Ruhl, Dennis James, and Günther Schlierkamp stood alongside emerging talents like Branch Warren and Johnny Jackson. Specialty awards added further interest, including Viotech's Best Wheels, which was, of course, awarded to the person with the best legs. The controversial challenge round also made a reappearance, where athletes faced off head-to-head for additional prize money. With so many big names battling for the Sandow, the stage was set for fierce competition. Fans were eager to see if reigning champion Ronniecoleman could hold his ground against persistent challenger Jaycutler, or if challenge round winner Gustavo Bedell could add to his $50,000 prize money. Bedell had won 6 from 8 rounds, as well as the tiebreaker pose-off to earn the cash. In the end, however, history was made. Ronnie Coleman secured his 8th Mr. Olympia title, tying Leehaney's record and cementing his legacy as one of the sport's greatest champions, and potentially the best of all time. Jaycutler once again claimed the runner-up spot, also earning recognition with the Best Wheels Award. Gustavo Bedell impressed with a 3rd place finish, while Gunther Schlierkamp and Victor Martinez rounded out the top 5. At the night's conclusion, one simple question lingered. Could Ronnie best Haney's record and make it 9? Only time would tell. This year's iteration was held on the 29th and 30th of September, once again at the Orleans Arena. It was also one of the most anticipated Mr. Olympia contests in history. After securing 8 victories, Ronnie Coleman walked on stage aiming to secure a record-breaking 9th Sandow. His presence carried an aura of inevitability, as many assumed that the king would simply extend his reign. However, this particular Olympia would prove to be anything but predictable. Coleman always brought a powerful physique and unmatched stage presence. This year was no different. His posing routine was a spectacle in itself, as he made a dramatic entrance appearing dressed as Moses, complete with flowing robes and a white beard, and even 2 stone tablets. Even though it was clear that Coleman wasn't at his absolute peak, his conditioning and charisma kept the audience buzzing. The competition itself was stacked with talent. Rising star Victor Martinez brought sharp lines and symmetry. Dexterjackson showcased his trademark aesthetics and conditioning, and Melvin Anthony impressed with his theatrical posing, making this one of the deepest Olympias in recent memory. In the end, Jaycutler delivered the best package of his career, presenting an extra 10 pounds of dense, refined muscle with stellar conditioning. For years, he had placed 2nd.
To the 2006 Mr. Olympia, Jaycutler!
But not this year. He finally broke through, not only defeating Coleman, but doing so decisively. Jay had swept all 4 rounds, with a final score of 22 to Ronnie's 38. Martinez claimed 3rd, Jackson 4th, and Anthony 5th. Cutler's victory cemented his place amongst bodybuilding's elite in becoming the 11th Mr. Olympia champion, while Coleman's runner-up finish closed the book on his unprecedented reign. The 2006 Mr. Olympia will forever be remembered as the night the torch was passed, and there was no better man to pass it to. This year's iteration of the Mr. Olympia contest was held over the 28th and 29th of September, once again in Las Vegas. It was also one of the most dramatic and since hotly debated contests in the sport's history. The event brought together reigning champion Jaycutler, 8-time champion Ronnie Coleman, rising star Victor Martinez, and sharp contender Dexterjackson, along with 20 other competitors from around the globe. Excitement and anticipation were especially high as Coleman attempted to reclaim his lost title and capture a record-setting 9th Sandow. Victor Martinez, on the other hand, came in with the momentum from his Arnold Classic win earlier that year. Tension grew over the course of the weekend. Jay himself admitted that he wasn't his best during prejudging, having dropped nearly 10 pounds from his target weight, which left him looking flat on stage.
Do you think because he was so good, that's kind of why you had kind of like that stutter, like right after that following year in 07, you weren't as good?
No, I actually had an infection, so that's what hindered me. I mean, I felt like, I knew in 07, I tried to come in as big in 07, which I think was another mistake because Ronnie wasn't there anymore. I wasn't battling guys like that. So between that missed timing, but I did have a shoulder infection that did affect me a lot, and it wasn't the best look for me, and obviously that was the hardest Olympia I've ever faced in my life.
By the finals, however, he managed to regain fullness and present a tighter, more dense physique. Meanwhile, Martinez impressed with symmetry and conditioning. Jackson displayed his trademark consistency, and German newcomer Dennis Wolf stunned the crowd with his wide frame and charisma on stage. Although Coleman fought hard, the fan favourite showed visible tiredness from years at the top, signalling that his era was nearing its conclusion. In the end, Jaycutler retained his crown, claiming his second consecutive Mr. Olympia title and the $155,000 in prize money. The decision was extremely close, with Cutler edging out Martinez by just 4 points. This result still fuels debate amongst bodybuilding fans and analysts alike. Dexter secured the bronze for the second time in his career. Coleman finished 4th, and Wolf rounded out the top 5 with an outstanding breakout performance. At the conclusion of the contest, Ronniecoleman would announce his retirement, holding his hand high in the air as he delivered it.
This is the best contest of my life, regardless of my placing. I'm one of the happiest men in the world. It's all well, all I can say is it doesn't get any better than this. Thank each and every one for coming out. Thank each and every fan out there for supporting bodybuilding and supporting me. I love y'all all. Y'all made me have the best life that a guy could ever have, and I could have never done it without y'all. So thank y'all for coming out. Please, please come out again next year, because it's just, even though I'm not gonna be on stage, I won't be here, and I hope to see all y'all and be right there with y'all, cheering these guys on. These are some of the greatest guys in the world. It was my pleasure and my honor to be here all these years. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you.
That's Ronniecoleman, 8-time Mr. Olympia, one of the greatest of all time.
Ronniecoleman.
The legend received an emotional farewell from fans who knew that they were witnessing the close of his historic career. The question on everyone's mind was now, could Jaycutler secure his hat-trick the following year? Once again held at the Orleans Arena, the 2008 Mr. Olympia carried an atmosphere thick with anticipation. The contest was held over the 26th and 27th of September and promised fierce competition. Again, the lineup consisted of both established champions and rising stars, while Victor Martinez was sidelined by injury after his runner-up finish the previous year. The door was left wide open for a shake-up, and so it was. Fans also witnessed the debut of a brand new division, the 202 Showdown class. This class rewarded lighter, aesthetic physiques and hinted at expansion of the Olympia's widening scope. In its inaugural year, the 202 Showdown brought new energy, with future stars like Flex Lewis showing promise and David Henry carving his name into history as the division's very first champion. On the main stage, PhilHeath, making his Olympia debut, looked to prove that his blend of round muscle bellies, symmetry, and stage presence could challenge the big boys. Dennis, Big Bad Wolf, and Tony X-Man Freeman also delivered strong showings, their physiques appealing to the fans who favoured size, structure, and classic lines. Meanwhile, Jaycutler, the two-time champion, arrived aiming to continue to build his legacy. When the podium finishes were announced, history was made. PhilHeath was announced in 3rd place, which stunned the crowd. This was the highest Olympia rookie finish since Flex Wheeler in 1993, establishing himself as a future threat, to say the very least. Jaycutler, gracious despite falling short of his best, had to settle for 2nd place, vowing to come back stronger. And in 1st, Dexter, the Blade Jackson, finally claimed the Sandow Trophy, becoming the 12th man in history to do so. Jaycutler would later famously state that Dexter Jackson did not win the 2008 Mr. Olympia, but rather, he handed it to him.
And Dexter won. I never questioned, he deserved to win, but I always said, I gave the title to him, right? I walked away and...
Apparently, bodybuilding judges were in fact shifting to reward lines and aesthetics over sheer size. Or so it seemed. The 2009 Mr. Olympia quickly established itself as one of the most competitive lineups in the contest's history. With former champions, rising stars, and Arnold Classic winners filling the card, fans were sure to be given a show. Every call-out drew cheers and debate, as the judges were tasked with splitting hairs among some of the most complete bodybuilders of that era. Apart from the first place finisher, the final call-out was highly competitive, as places 2 through 5 were separated by only 9 points. The depth of the lineup was certainly on full display. Kai Green, who was making his Olympia debut, impressed with his conditioning and excellent posing. Philheath, recovering from a stomach virus, rebounded with a fuller look in the finals, while Victor Martinez, Tony Freeman, Branch Warren, and Hidetada Yamagishi all delivered strong showings, proving the Olympia stage had never been more competitive, at least in a long while. When the dust settled and the spotlight inevitably turned to the podium, history was made again. Jaycutler reclaimed the Mr. Olympia crown, becoming the first bodybuilder ever to win the title back after losing it, and in so doing, joined Sergiooliva and frankzane as a 3-time champion. Branch Warren shocked the crowd by surging into second, narrowly surpassing 2008 winner Dexterjackson, who slipped to third. Green, Heath, and Martinez rounded out the top 6, underscoring how fiercely competitive the night had been. Jaycutler had shown that he, like always, worked best as the underdog. However, now he was no longer the underdog, so even he was pondering the question, could he retain in 2010? The 2010 Mr. Olympia was held from the 23rd to the 26th of September in Las Vegas, Nevada, and was the 46th edition of the contest. Additionally, it was staged at the Las Vegas Convention Center and the Orleans Arena. Alongside the main event, the 202 Olympia Showdown, Miss Olympia, and Figure Olympia were also featured, making it a massive weekend for professional bodybuilding. The competition lineup in 2010 was regarded as one of the most competitive in Olympia history. Reigning champion Jaycutler was set to defend his title against a stacked lineup. Big names including Philheath, Dexterjackson, Branch Warren, Kai Green, Victor Martinez, and Dennis Wolf were keen to challenge bodybuilding's greatest ambassador. The finals were simply electric, offering fans a pose-by-pose comparison of the top 6 athletes. This captivated those in attendance to the point where, if they weren't on their feet, they were at least on the edge of their seat. The event also included a reunion of past Olympia champions. Legends such as Larryscott, Sergiooliva, francocolumbu, frankzane, chrisdickerson, samirbannout, leehaney, dorianyates, and Ronniecoleman appeared on stage for an emotional reunion with Joe Weider. The contest also featured a touching tribute to retiring competitor Dennis James.
What better day to go out than on the Olympia stage? And what better day to go out the day where we have every Mr. Olympia in the history of the IFBB on the very same stage. Y'all just made my whole career.
The crazy pose down round I mentioned earlier, and a closing video montage celebrating Olympia history. But these aren't the only contributors to the 2010 being one of the most memorable Olympias ever. When it came time to announce the podium finishes, it would be Branch Warren's name that would be called first, claiming bronze. Philheath's name would be announced for second place. Despite it only being his 3rd Olympia, he had truly pushed the top finishes and earned the silver medal. 2008 champion Dexterjackson slipped to 4th, while Dennis Wolf and Ronnie Rockel, both of whom were from Germany, rounded out the top 6. Jaycutler secured his 4th Mr. Olympia title and the $200,000 in prize money. Only one question remained: could he make it 5 in 2011? The 2011 Mr. Olympia contest was held from September 15 to September 18, once again in Las Vegas. It featured a record number of athletes competing across the men's and women's divisions, highlighting the growing popularity of the sport worldwide. Notably, Jaycutler tore his left bicep.
What happened to your bicep? How did that happen?
I was doing a photo shoot in basically what I did a million times. I had dumbbells on my knees and I was kicking them up to do a shoulder press. And when I kicked them up, the bicep detached on the upper and it didn't hurt. Really? I just thought, it was like an electric shock.
Which clearly affected his conditioning and symmetry. Despite this setback, he still managed to push Heath in a close battle for the top spot. The contest also brought forward seasoned veterans like Tony Freeman and Ronnie Rockle, though neither was able to crack the top 6. Philheath, nicknamed The Gift, had competed plenty of times before, but only now had he truly reached his peak. He displayed unmatched fullness, detail, balance, and round muscle bellies. Then there was Jaycutler, who was expected to impress, being a 4-time champion, while Kai Green presented his huge frame with stellar posing. The top 6 consisted of these 3 men, as well as Victor Martinez, Dennis Wolf, and Dexterjackson, each of whom showcased world-class physiques, but 4 men seemed to fall short of the 2 at the top. The show itself concluded with an emotional moment between Heath and Cutler. After an intense pose down, Heath was declared champion.
To our winner tonight,
and his victory was met with thunderous applause and admiration from fans and fellow competitors. In a gracious gesture, Cutler congratulated his protege, acknowledging Heath's bright future as the sport's new ambassador.
So Phil, I just want to say to you, I'm extremely happy for you. This is a great moment. I always said that if I was to lose the title, I wouldn't be happy to lose it to someone like you as my friend. And I was very proud to see you come up. And now you are the king.
The only question was now, could the gift be rewrapped and reopened the following year? Only time would tell. Held from the 27th to the 30th of September, the 2012 Mr. Olympia Contest drew significant attention. The documentary, if you can call it that, Generation Iron, followed several competitors as they prepared for the show. Philheath and Kai Green seemed to dominate the competition from the outset, establishing a clear 2-man race for the title. Green started strong and was considered a serious contender, but Heath's muscle density and muscle roundness seemed to give him the edge. The absence of 4-time champion Jaycutler, who was unfortunately sidelined by a torn bicep, intensified the spotlight on Heath and Green. As for the rest of the card, Shawnrhoden delivered one of the most impressive leaps forward, climbing from outside the top 10 the previous year to challenge the frontrunners. Meanwhile, former champion Dexterjackson maintained his trademark consistency and sharp conditioning, and Arnold Classic winner Branch Warren once again battled his way into the mix. Dennis Wolf put his crazy X-frame on display, and speaking of X, Tony X-Man Freeman turned heads at the age of 46. Of note, Evan Centopani, in his Olympia debut, also made waves with a promising 8th place finish. Ultimately, when the top placings were announced, Philheath would claim his 2nd consecutive title, earning the $250,000 prize.
Philheath!
Kai Green took 2nd place, along with $100,000, and Shawnrhoden's improvements allowed him to secure 3rd, along with $75,000. Dexterjackson finished 4th, Branch Warren 5th, and Dennis Wolf 6th. Heath's unanimous victory reinforced his dominance, and fans were anticipating a three-peat the following year. With proven talent, this year's contest set the stage for a thrilling Mr. Olympia in 2013. The 2013 Mr. Olympia Contest was held over the 27th and 28th of September at the Orleans Arena in Paradise, Nevada. Athletes from all over the world gathered to showcase their physiques, highlighting the always expanding international reach of professional bodybuilding. This year's Olympia was particularly significant because 3 former champions, Jaycutler, Dexterjackson, and philheath, stood on the same Olympia stage for the first time since 2008, where they all placed in the top 3. It was the presence of these men, combined with the otherwise stacked card, which made for one of the most talent-packed lineups in recent history. The prejudging round and pose down highlighted the fierce competitiveness of the field, with athletes demonstrating their symmetry, size, and stage presence to a buzzing crowd. The international scope of the competition was on full display. When the podium finishes were announced, philheath emerged victorious, earning his 3rd consecutive Mr. Olympia title.
Folks, in Olympia tradition, the next name you hear will be your 2013 Mr. Olympia. 3-time Mr. Olympia, philheath!
This, of course, confirmed his dominance, with an outstanding balance of mass, definition, and symmetry at just 33 years old. Kai Greene once again pushed Heath, but ultimately secured 2nd place. A much improved Dennis Wolf impressed the judges to claim 3rd, while Shawnrhoden, Dexterjackson, and, surprisingly, Jaycutler rounded out the top 6. A record prize pool of $675,000 was awarded for the main event, with $250,000 going to Heath, $125,000 was awarded to Greene, and $80,000 to Wolf. Overall, the Olympia weekend distributed $950,000 across its competitions, which was a monumental amount. Slipping to 6th, as aforementioned, Jaycutler would also announce his retirement, aiming to focus on business and personal ventures. Now that philheath had secured his hat-trick, the question was, could he keep Kai Greene at bay and secure his 4th in 2014? The 2014 Mr. Olympia contest was held from September 18 to 21 in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was also the 50th anniversary of Joe Weider's Olympia weekend. This weekend celebrated decades of bodybuilding history with special presentations by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Betty Weider, and legendary bodybuilders such as francocolumbu, Leehaney, Ronniecoleman, and Jaycutler, who had retired the previous year. This year's iteration also offered one of the largest prize pools in bodybuilding history.
And now it is over $1 million, the cash prize today, over $1 million.
The eventual champion of the Olympia contest would earn $275,000 for his victory, while the runner-up was set to receive $130,000. Additionally, for the first time, every athlete, 3rd through 16th, were also awarded prize money. Lee Priest finally got his wish.
When you have a show like the Olympia where people have to qualify to be here, and you have the guy who came 15th, 16th training just as hard as me, and I get money and he doesn't, I just don't see it's fair. So if I'm placing in the money, yes, I will give them some of my prize money. So
tension between Mr. Olympia frontrunners Kai Greene and philheath had been building for years. This tension would come to a head in what was perhaps the most notorious bodybuilding confrontation.
You see the roundness in the muscle from the shoulders
Spread
to
out,
the
gentlemen.
chest.
Hey!
Oh! Here we go.
Spread out! Spread out!
Who wants to break up that fight?
Kai and Dennis switch!
A confrontation of this magnitude had not been seen since the conflict between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mike Mensa in 1980. Kai and Phil almost came to blows during this confrontation, and depending on who you ask, it can be seen as either a blemish on Mr. Olympia's image or the event that reignited fan interest in the sport of bodybuilding. I side with the latter. Despite all this pushing and shoving, philheath continued his reign at the top, securing his 4th consecutive Sandow trophy and the $275,000 in prize money. His rival Kai Greene once again came in 2nd, much to his disappointment. This contest proved especially significant as it became Greene's final Olympia appearance, and fans were left pining for another Greene appearance on bodybuilding's biggest stage for years thereafter. Shawnrhoden, Dennis Wolf, Dexterjackson, and Branch Warren rounded out the top 6. With the disappearance of Kai Greene, fans were left wondering who was going to challenge Phil at the 2015 Olympia, if anyone at all. The 2015 Mr. Olympia Contest, held on September 18 through 19 in Las Vegas, Nevada, marked the 51st edition of the contest. On stage, various competitors impressed the audience in attendance. Philheath captivated the audience with a performance set to music by Phil Collins and Aloe Blacc, striving to highlight his refined conditioning, stage presence, and muscle roundedness with every pose. Rolly Winkler really stepped up this year, putting forward a strong posing routine, while Dennis Wolf did the same, posing to the theme song of The Maze Runner. Of course, the audience responded enthusiastically to this, as the rankings seemed to swing in the wind. Of course, it was impossible to overlook the fact that Heath's excellence over multiple years in professional bodybuilding was undoubtedly rare. After all, to this point, only 13 men had claimed the Sandow Trophy in the history of the Mr. Olympia. When the final scores were tallied and the results were in, the judges paused to reflect on the talent present at the competition, but then quickly snickety-snapped back into gear to announce the podium finishes. Shawnrhoden was announced in third place, claiming $100,000 for his efforts. When only 2 men remained on stage, it was time for the final announcement. When all was said and done, it was announced that Philheath claimed first place and $400,000 in prize money.
The first of its kind, and it will be presented to your new Mr. Olympia. To your 5-time champion, the gift, philheath!
Dexterjackson was announced as a second place finisher at 45 and earned $150,000, while Dennis Wolf, bigramy, and Branch Warren rounded out the top 6. Despite the quality of competition he was faced with, many onlookers questioned if anyone could truly challenge Heath's dominance. The 2016 Mr. Olympia Contest was held on September 16 and 17 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Athletes from around the world gathered to compete for top honors, prize money, and the recognition that comes with excelling on bodybuilding's biggest stage. Heading into the event, Philheath was widely expected to defend his title, particularly after the announcement that 3-time runner-up Kai Green would not be competing. Heath's main challengers now included 46-year-old veteran Dexterjackson, looking to reclaim a top position, and Shawnrhoden, who aimed to improve upon his previous third-place finish. On stage, Heath's presence was commanding, and his posing was improving year to year. Jackson, known for his late career resurgence, brought determination and experience, while Rhoden showed steady improvement and focus. Beyond the main event, the other categories displayed emerging talent and the growing global reach of professional bodybuilding. But on the main stage, when the men's opens results were announced, Philheath claimed his 6th consecutive Mr. Olympia title, earning $400,000 with a perfect score in both the judging and the finals rounds.
Please take the Sandow Award, the Olympia Gold Medal, the check for $400,000, and the title of 2016 Mr. Olympia. Is 6-time Mr. Olympia.
There it is.
Phil, the gift.
Philheath makes it 6 in a row, tying Dorianyates.
Deservingly 6-time Mr. Olympia.
Shawnrhoden finished second, achieving his highest career placement at the age of 41, as well as taking home $150,000, while Dexterjackson secured third place, along with $100,000. Rounding out the top 6 were Bigramy in 4th, William Bonac in 5th, and Rolly Winkler in 6th. I mentioned earlier the global reach of the entirety of the Mr. Olympia weekend. Well, it was no different for the men's open, as these champions were from the USA, Jamaica, Egypt, the Netherlands, and Curacao. Holistically speaking, Heath's victory reaffirmed his dominant status, setting the stage for a potential 7th consecutive win in the following year. The 2017 Mr. Olympia Contest took place from September 14 to 17 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Over the course of the weekend, press conferences, judging sessions, and finals were held, with many events live streamed for global audiences. Philheath, otherwise known as The Gift, entered the competition as the overwhelming favourite, having won each Mr. Olympia title of the decade thus far. You know, apart from 2010. If he was victorious, this would tie him with Arnold Schwarzenegger for the third most career titles in the history of the competition, leaving him just one win behind all-time leaders Leehaney and Ronniecoleman. However, his fellow competitors were not going to make that easy. With size that could only be described as ridiculous, Bigramy had recently emerged as a serious contender, pushing Heath to deliver his best on stage. Bigramy desperately wanted his first Sandow trophy, along with the $400,000 in prize money that was offered to the victor. William Bonac was also keen to take home his first Mr. Olympia trophy and was equally enticed by the prize money. Together, these three men seemed to be the favourites as the night progressed. When it came time to announce the podium finishers, Bonac's name was announced in third place.
To your third place finisher, William Bonac.
William Bonac continues to climb the ladder, joins the very exclusive top 3 in the World Club.
A lull washed over the audience as the final victor's name was set to be announced, which was an Olympia tradition after all.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the greatest bodybuilder on the planet, the recipient of the 2017 iconic Sandow Trophy, the 7-time Mr. Olympia, Phil "The Gift" Heath.
It was official. Philheath did indeed secure first place, followed by Bigramy, who finished in second, trailing by 15 points. Dexterjackson finished 4th, shawnrhoden placed 5th, and Rolly Winkler rounded out the top 6. The monies received reflected the hard work that went into the competition, with Heath receiving $400,000, Ramy $150,000, and Bonac received $100,000. Regardless of the accolades and prize money won, Phil set his eyes on the future and his 8th Mr. Olympia title. The 2018 Mr. Olympia Contest was held from September 14 through 15 in Las Vegas. The prejudging and finals for most divisions took place across multiple days, with Mr. Olympia prejudging held on the night of September 13 at the Orleans Arena. The weekend also included a press conference and an Olympia Superstar seminar, making it an absolute steal for ticket purchases.
Talk is cheap. You'll find out tomorrow. And you have that same looking Eeyore looking face backstage.
Respectfully, the contest saw a two-man showdown between shawnrhoden and 7-time defending champion Philheath. Fans were excited by this nonetheless, as it felt like Qyxz versus Phil reborn. Having won the Olympia the previous year, Heath had redirected his focus to tie the record for the most Olympia wins at 8, a record shared by legends Leehaney and Ronniecoleman.
And that's the difference with the mindset. That's the difference. That's why you guys bought the tickets. You bought the tickets to see history be made, whether it happens or not. But it's going to happen.
At 43 years and 5 months old, Rhoden would become the oldest bodybuilder in history to win the title if his hand was raised at the end of the night. A nice feather in his cap indeed. At both the prejudging and in the finals, judges noted that Rhoden's physique, with superior leanness and well-defined abs and legs, gave him an edge over Heath, but not by much. Phil's shoulders and back remained impressive, but seemingly could not overcome Rhoden's overall balanced physique. After prejudging, Rhoden had a mere 1-point lead, a gap that a dominant poser such as Phil could capably overcome, against most athletes anyway. However, the gap between the two men extended at the finals, and Rhoden decisively extended his lead to 4 points. To the audience and certainly the judges in attendance, Shawn had done just enough to win. One large determining factor for this is that the bubble guts, which had inevitably come to the fray as athletes continued to get bigger and bigger, were obviously being penalised. The judges were now once again favouring a more streamlined and aesthetic physique, as they had when frankzane, dexterjackson, chrisdickerson or samirbannout had won their titles. Everything seemed to be falling into place for the fan favourite. As the points would suggest, Shawnrhoden was indeed crowned as the 2018 Mr. Olympia champion, securing 13 points to Heath's 17.
To our winner, and new Olympia champion.
There it is. It has happened in Las Vegas for just the 14th time. We have a new Mr. Olympia.
As a result, he also secured his first Sandow trophy and $400,000 in prize money. Philheath, of course, placed second, and Rolly Winkler placed third, trailing Heath by 10 points, with 27. William Bonac came in fourth, followed by brandoncurry in fifth, and bigramy in sixth. Would Roden be added to the list of one-time first-place finishers, or would this victory commence a dominant reign? Only time would tell. The 2019 Mr. Olympia Contest took place from September 12 through 14, once again in Las Vegas, Nevada. In my summary for the previous year, I posed the question, would Roden be added to the list of one-time finishers, or would his victory commence a dominant reign? Well, unfortunately, not much time was needed to deliver an answer to this question. The 2018 Mr. Olympia champion, Shawnrhoden, was accused of Sierra Alpha, of a female protege, when he was visiting her in Salt Lake City, Utah, in October of 2018. In July of 2019, he was formally charged in the state of Utah with the crimes of which he was accused. The American Media LLC company would release a statement in that same month, stating emphatically that Roden was banned from competing at the 2019 Mr. Olympia Contest, as well as future competitions. As such, the door was left wide open for a new champion. Prejudging for Mr. Olympia was held on the night of September 13, followed by the finals on September 14 at Orleans Arena. Despite having no returning champion, the stage featured strong competition from a long list of talented athletes who were sure to impress. Additionally, fans were able to engage through live broadcasts and interactive elements like the People's Champion voting, which seemed to be a hit across the board. Ultimately, as the results were due to be announced, fans were left wondering who would emerge victorious, but they would not have to wait long. Starting with third place, fan favourite hadichoopan earned the bronze medal and the People's Champion Award, reflecting his popularity and certainly his potential. With only Bonac and Curry left standing at centre stage, the tension was thick. When the tension was cut and the winner's name was announced, it was brandoncurry who was crowned the new Mr. Olympia, earning his first title.
To our winner, and new Mr. Olympia, brandoncurry!
Well, there you have it, fans. Brandoncurry is your 2019 Mr. Olympia, the 15th in our 55-year history.
With this victory, he would also join the elite, albeit small group of athletes to win both the Arnold Classic and the Mr. Olympia in the same year. Dexterjackson placed fourth, Rolly Winkler, who had suffered a hamstring injury, placed fifth, and Steve Kuklo finished sixth. With yet another first-time champion in the record books, the fans were left wondering, would Curry be able to back up in 2020 with a potentially more stacked card? We shall see. The 2020 Mr. Olympia Contest was held from December 17 to 20 in Orlando, Florida, this being the second time, with the first in 1991. Originally planned for Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas, the competition was relocated due to, restrictions. This was the first time in 20 years that the Olympia was held outside Las Vegas. Global travel restrictions and health concerns led to the withdrawal of several top competitors, including Rolly Winkler, 212 competitor Flex Lewis, and Cedric McMillan, to name but a few. The weekend began with the competitors' press conference and Meet the Olympians on December 17, while prejudging was held the following day. On the night of December 19, the Mr. Olympia finals were due to take place. Due to the aforementioned restrictions, the overall event was scaled down, with fewer sponsors, spectators, and public-facing activities. Regardless, the event charged onward. With the absence of Winkler, McMillan, former champion Shawnrhoden, James Hollingshead, and Nathan D'Asher, fans were left wondering who would seize the opportunity the lighter card presented them with. Only 10 competitors took the stage this year, which was disappointing for the fans and for the competitors themselves. At prejudging, 3 men stood out from the rest of the pack. After each competitor was analysed, the judges had determined that, after prejudging, they had Bigramy in first with 8 points, Heath in second with 11, and Curry in third with 13. But it wasn't over yet. At the finals, fan favourite hadichoopan came back looking hugely improved, scoring 10 points to Heath's 20. Curry scored 15, maintaining similar conditioning to the prejudging round. Ultimately, however, Bigramy of Egypt won his first Mr. Olympia title, securing the $400,000 in prize money.
The first place check for $400,000. And the title of 2020 Mr. Olympia to our winner and new Olympia champion,
Ramy also became the first non-American champion since Dorianyates in 1997, and the 16th Mr. Olympia champion overall. 2019 Mr. Olympia brandoncurry finished in second place, while philheath slid to third. hadichoopan placed fourth, and William Bonac finished fifth. Could Bigramy replicate his combination of size and conditioning next year, or would he join the list of one-time champions? Only time would tell. The 2021 Mr. Olympia Contest took place from October 7th to 10th, returning once again to Orlando, Florida, due to ongoing restrictions. The event opened on a sober note with the recent passing of 212 competitor George Peterson and Flex magazine editor Peter McGuff. Dan Solomon spoke briefly but beautifully in honor of both men at the Olympia press conference.
This is more than about physiques. This is a journey. This is a lifestyle that we all share, and we must honor those we have lost. We must honor Peter McGuff, George Peterson. We must honor John Meadows, all who we have lost this year. We must honor and celebrate their legacy. They are our brothers, our sisters. They are those who each and every day we work with and we admire and respect. And ladies and gentlemen, we dedicate the 2021 Olympia to their memory.
In addition to the high-level competition, the 2021 Olympia weekend featured record-breaking prize money, with a combined purse of $1.6 million, the largest in the contest's history. As for the competition itself, Bigramy entered the weekend as a defending champion, promising once again that winter was coming. This in reference to both Game of Thrones and his perceived dominance in the sport. Ramy saying this phrase had been memed around a bit, but his success spoke for itself. After losing the title, brandoncurry arrived on stage with something to prove. At prejudging, he demonstrated unprecedented conditioning, creating a highly competitive tit-for-tat with Ramy. Regardless, the judges saw enough in Ramy to warrant a 1-point lead going into the finals. But it was clear that these two men had separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Both men knew that they had to bring their best into the finals. At the finals, fans and judges were disappointed to see that the gap between the two men had widened, and it seemed apparent that a repeat result was imminent. Curry arrived more washed out than in prejudging, losing the crispness that allowed him to hang with Ramy, despite the size difference. With the loss of this detail, it seemed that Ramy's size would now blow Curry's chances at securing his second Sandow out of the water. When the podium finishes were finally announced, hadichoopan claimed third place, as well as earning the People's Choice Award for his outstanding conditioning.
He walks around too heavy.
And let's hear it for your People's Champion,
He's right where he needs to be.
When only two men remained on stage, Bigramy was announced as Mr. Olympia, securing his second consecutive Mr. Olympia title and the $400,000 prize.
And two-time Olympia champion.
No, that doesn't help us, Bob. See, you gotta go either way. You messing with me.
Bigramy!
All right.
Curry had placed second, trailing Ramy by 7 points and pipping Hardy by 10. Hunter Labrada rose to fourth place, and Nick Walker finished fifth in his debut, both of which greatly impressed fans. Fans were now calling for Ramy to three-peat the following year. Could he do it, or would someone else snatch his throne? The 2022 Mr. Olympia took place from December 15 through 18 at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas, Nevada. After restrictions changing the venue for the previous 2 years and cutting the card to include far fewer competitors, this year, things were back to full swing. With 28 athletes competing, the roster included newcomers like dereklunsford, who had moved up from the 212 division, social media sensation Andrew Jacked, as well as more seasoned competitors such as William Bonac, brandoncurry, and reigning champion bigramy. Those in attendance were in for a show. However, the sheer size of the field presented logistical challenges, with the finals running until 1 AM. But I'm getting ahead of myself. At prejudging, once again, 2 men seemed to separate themselves from the rest of the pack early, but the standouts were different to last year. Hadichoopan and Lunsford were clearly 1 and 2 thus far, to which the judges concurred, as they were scored 7 and 8 respectively. At the finals, this gap tripled, as Hardy, in true Hardy form, returned even more conditioned, while Lunsford waned slightly. Nick Walker also impressed the judges, but was not in contention for the win. In addition to the issue I raised earlier, due to half of the lineup placing 17th, these issues pushed the organisers to change the qualification system. From the following year onwards, competitors had to win at least 1 professional show to qualify for future Mr. Olympia contests, ending the points-based system that had previously been used. At the end of the night, when the placings were announced, no one was surprised. An impressive Nick Walker took 3rd, trailing the 2nd place finisher by 15 points. While the judges knew the result, the audience only knew it was close, and waited with bated breath. It would be Hadichoopan's name that was announced as the 2022 Mr. Olympia champion, claiming the $400,000 grand prize and becoming the first Iranian competitor to win the title. Dereklunsford secured the runner-up spot, earning $150,000 and the silver medal. Former champion brandoncurry placed 4th, 2-time champion bigramy placed 5th, and intriguing challenger samsondauda placed 6th. Hadichoopan's victory, achieved after several near misses in previous years, capped off a historic and highly competitive event. But could he hold off an ever-improving Lunsford to repeat in 2023? The 2023 Mr. Olympia was held from November 2nd through 5th, returning once again to the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. The lead up to the competition was charged with anticipation, with many athletes preparing for rematches and new challengers seeking to make their mark on the Olympia stage. The event also included unexpected developments, such as the withdrawal of 2022 third place winner Nick Walker due to a torn hamstring, which shifted the competitive landscape in the men's open. On his Instagram, Walker stated, "It's with a heavy heart that I won't be stepping on stage this year due to unforeseen and unfortunate reasons that remind us we're only human," stating further that he knew that he would not place in the top 3 and did not want to drop placings. Additionally, bigramy did not compete this year due to multiple injuries, including elbow inflammation and nerve damage. These absences hurt the competitiveness of the card for sure, but the top 4 were deemed to be comparable. Former Mr. Olympias, brandoncurry and Hadichoopan, and highly improved challengers like dereklunsford and samsondauda were deemed to be best suited. These predictions were confirmed at prejudging, with Lunsford and Hadichoopan looking sharp as attack. The judges agreed, separating the men by only 2 points. It was clear that, once again, this was a 2-man race, unless Dauda returned greatly improved at the night show. Unfortunately, this was not the case. Lunsford returned even sharper than before, while Hadichoopan, as always, maintained his conditioning perfectly. While Curry improved slightly, this was not enough to cover the lost ground. When the podium finishes were announced, samsondauda was announced in 3rd, which impressed those in attendance and those watching the live stream. When only the top 2 remained, it was time to announce the top spot. Dereklunsford ultimately claimed the Mr. Olympia title with a total score of 13, earning $400,000 for his efforts.
And the title of 2023 Olympia champion to our winner, and new Olympia champion, Dereklunsford.
Hardy finished in second with 18 points, Gracious in defeat and $150,000 richer. Brandoncurry, Andrew Jacked and Hunter Labrada rounded out the top 6. Now that Lunsford had toppled Hardy, fans were left wondering whether it would pip him once again the following year or whether a new challenger would emerge victorious. The 60th edition of Mr. Olympia took place from October 10 through 13 at Resorts World Las Vegas in Nevada. Anticipation was high leading into the event, with fans eager to see whether a reigning champion could defend the title or if a new name would rise to the top. Friday night's prejudging set the tone for the weekend. The men's open showcased a stacked lineup despite the absence of Nick Walker, who missed a second straight year with injury, and wildcard Michael Qyxz recovering from shoulder surgery. The judges quickly zeroed in on the leading contenders, with the first call out including Samsondauda, Dereklunsford, Hadichoopan, Andrew Jacked, Hunter Labrada, Rafael Brandau, and Martin Fitzwater. At the end of prejudging, the 5th call-out was announced: Dauda, Choopan, and Lunsford. The fans in attendance were positive that these were the top 3 standing at centre stage, but only 2 were currently tied for first. The finals on Saturday were electric. Each of the leading contenders brought their best, which made it really tricky for the judges to do their jobs and find their winner. As such, they required multiple call-outs, tiring the depleted bodybuilders. To those in attendance, Dauda's physique stood out with its balance of size, symmetry, and conditioning. In addition, for the first time ever, Choopan, who many people had pegged for first after prejudging, allowed his conditioning to slip slightly. When the results were revealed, history was made. Samsondauda claimed first place and a record-setting $600,000 prize, securing his first Mr. Olympia crown and returning the title to the United Kingdom for the first time since Dorianyates' reign ended in 1997.
To our winner, and new Olympia champion, samsondauda.
Hadichoopan, the 2022 champion, finished runner-up for the 2nd consecutive year, earning $250,000, while the 2023 champion Dereklunsford dropped to 3rd and collected $100,000. The final point allocations were Dauda at 14, Choopan trailing by a mere 3 points at 17, and Lunsford at 30. Martin Fitzwater impressed in his Olympia debut with a 4th place finish, followed by Andrew Jacked in 5th and Hunter Labrada in 6th. Dauda's victory was impressive, but as always, we were all left wondering, will he repeat this year? We will see very soon. The 2025 Mr. Olympia, held from October 9th through 12th in Las Vegas, Nevada, delivered one of the most highly debated results the sport has seen in years, with social media posts still circulating almost a week after the contest. But let's start at the beginning. Reigning champion Samsondauda aimed to defend his title against a stacked field that included former winner Dereklunsford, Lord Shred Quad Hadichoopan, and fan favourite Andrew Jacked, as well as Nick Walker, who was returning from injury. Martin Fitzwater also returned. As such, anticipation was high for what promised to be a highly competitive weekend. Prejudging set the tone for the battle to come. The opening call-outs immediately placed Dauda, Lunsford, Jacked, Choopan, Fitzwater, and Walker under the spotlights. The fans and judges agreed this was the top 6. Lunsford's confidence and balance stood out, while Choopan impressed with unmatched muscle maturity and purposeful posing. Dauda carried tremendous stage presence due to his huge frame, and Andrew Jacked drew praise for a fuller, sharper, and more chiseled look than ever before. Nick Walker unfortunately looked flat and washed out, failing to move from the end during prejudging. Fitzwater impressed in the comparisons, showing future promise, though didn't seem in contention for first. At the finals, Lunsford and Choopan drew most of the judges' gaze. After the prejudging round, they were deemed to be separated by only 3 points. It's difficult to state that either athlete was at their absolute best. Regardless, only 4 men were required for the final comparisons: Lunsford, Choopan, Jacked, and Dauda. Lunsford had seemed to have lost the conditioning that gave him the edge over Hardy at prejudging, while Hardy seemed to have arrived with slightly improved definition. Andrew Jacked drew huge cheers from the crowd, while Samsondauda seemed off in comparison to his 2024 peak, even still. Due to their absence, it seemed apparent that Fitzwater and Walker seemed to have 5th and 6th place locked down. When the judges' scorecards were revealed, it was extremely close. As they announced the podium finishes, it would be revealed that Andrew Jacked claimed 3rd place and $100,000 with a score of 32 points. When there were just 2 men remaining, it would be announced that Dereklunsford was victorious, reclaiming the Sandow Trophy and earning $600,000 in prize money with 14 points. Hadichoopan, of course, placed 2nd, finishing just 2 points behind with 16. In addition, he once again claimed the People's Champion belt, thanks to his fan support. Samsondauda and Martin Fitzwater placed 4th and 5th respectively, while Nick Walker placed 6th. With the margins tighter than ever, and a new generation surging forward, only one question remains. Can Lunsford back up in 2026? Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I know every quintessential YouTuber finishes every video with the old, "This video took a long time to make, but I'm super serial."
I'm super serial.
This script stands at over 20,000 words and 46 pages in length, so you know your boy ain't fibbing. Love you.